Good. Senate will come to order. Reports from standing committees.
Mr. President, your committee number 4, Education, dated February 13th, 2026, to whom was referred Senate File 36, Hathaway Lump Sum Merit Scholarship, respectfully reports same back to the Senate with the recommendation that it do pass. Voting aye, Senators Brennan, Olson, Rothfuss, Schuler, Scott. Signed, Senator Schuler, Chairman. Mr. President, dated February 13th, 2026, your committee number 4, Education, to whom was referred Senate File 47, Increase of Hathaway Scholarship Awards, respectfully reports same back to the Senate with the recommendation that it do pass. Voting aye, Senators Brennan, Olson, Rothfuss, Schuler, and Scott. Signed, Senator Schuler, Chairman.
Thank you. Do we have any messages from the House or anything? No? All right, that brings us to consideration of bills on general file. We are at that order of business, amending and adopt, nope, that's not it. Where's the cow? Budget script. There we go. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate resolve itself into committee of the whole.
You have heard the motion. All in favor say aye. All opposed, no. Yeah, we got to consider SF1.
Yeah, Mr. President, if I could just clarify my motion for the Senate to resolve itself into committee of the whole for the purpose of completing Senate File 1, the budget bill.
Thank you. Now you've all heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carried. Senator Barlow.
Committee of the whole, please come to order. Let's see, please read the Senate file. Reading clerk.
Senate File 1, General Government Appropriations. An act to make appropriations for the fiscal biennium commencing July 1st, 2026 and ending June 30th, 2028, sponsored by Appropriations.
Thank you, reading clerk. So members of the body and members of the public, this is a continuation of explanation of Senate File 1. Does the Chairman of Appropriations want to make any initial comments before we proceed? Chairman Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think, if I'm not mistaken, we finished up with Agency 67, and that is going to be our starting point. And just for the information of the floor, it's our obvious intent to finish up today. However, I think somewhere around the 300s, 325, we're going to take a pause so that it gives you an opportunity, if you wish to, if you have amendments, now's the time. That's the time to do it for a second reading. So, but with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll leave it to your leadership to call on the next agency then.
Thank you very much. Section 69 is the next agency. I have Senator French standing. Please proceed. Section 69 is open. Hold on a moment, just a moment. Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you section 69 with you, page 32 on your summary sheet, and page 58 on your budget bill. It's pretty much just a standard budget. We just adopted their standard budget, so that's about the size of it.
Thank you, Senator French. Questions on Section 69? Section 69, any questions? Seeing none, Section 69 is closed. Next section, Section 70, Enhanced Oil Recovery Commission. I have Senator Larson. Please proceed.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I bring you Section 70, Enhanced Oil Recovery Commission, page 58 in your budget, page 32 on your summary sheet. Mr. Chairman, I would just like to talk about number one. It says JAC decreased the governor's recommendation of $558,802 general fund for additional staff. This was for one position. If you have any questions.
Any discussion? Any discussion on Section 70, Enhanced Oil Recovery? Senator Rothfuss on Section 70.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have one question. With regard to that position, what was the intent of the new position that was being eliminated? I believe, my understanding is it's a proposal to add the position that was being taken away, but can we get a little more information and background? Is that a position that would be benefiting the state's production, or what are the details?
Thank you, Senator Rothfuss. Senator Larson is standing to speak. Please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, this was office support position. There was another position that we did keep, and that was Manager of Strategic Partnership.
Thank you. Further discussion? Section 70, further discussion? Seeing none, 70 is closed. We're on to 72, Retirement System. Who's presenting that? Senator Guru.
Mr. Chairman, bring you Section 72, the retirement system, on page 33 of the summary sheet, page 59 of the budget bill. A couple of quick things. Number 1 and 2 are regarding adopting the GovRec on the RAIN system, and I know you all want to know that that means Retirement Administration Information Network, and that is going to help make sure that we get our retirement checks out on time, and some of us may be thinking about doing that. Next up, if you go to number, let's see here. Number 10 is the one I wanted to get out there, because this is a change from policy. We adopted the GovRec and added a footnote to specify that the Wyoming retirement system may increase the maximum base salary levels for investment staff as specified. Up to now, as I'm sure you all remember, that was not allowed to be done without legislative authorization that your JAC decided to change. Past that, I'd be glad to stand for any questions. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions on Section 72? Section 72, Retirement System? Seeing none, Section 72 is closed. The next section for your consideration is 7.7, Enterprise Technology Services. Continuing with Senator Guru. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you Section 77, ETS, Enterprise Technology Services, on page 34 of the summary sheet, page 60 of your budget. This is, we've been talking about this one. This is the one that they've supplied their own department requests on technology replacement, TRP, and that we cut in half, and that's where this occurs. You'll see that in lines 12, a little farther down. Let's see, 3. Yes, 12, denied GovRec 3,304,000 for the enterprise platform. We also decreased 221,000, leaving half for the TRP program, and in other spots. Another one that I want to call your attention to is number 16. JAC decreased the GovRec 1,497,000 for cloud services, and footnote number 3 to specify the funding source is the department's depreciation reserve account. I don't want to run down there anymore. That's about it. I'd be more than happy to stand for questions on ETS.
Thank you, Senator Gru. Any questions on, yes, sir, Senator Crum on ETS? Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question, and it really is on this, but then it's thinking on overnight about technology in general. It seems to me that we are starting to cut technology across the board. I was in the banking industry for 44 years, and part of my career was acquiring banks. And I acquired over 60 banks through my career. And you did two ways. What I did was two ways. You go get the really, really good guys, right? Or you get the guys that are in trouble. Well, the guys that were in trouble, 95% of the time, had not invested in technology and got so far down they couldn't invest in technology to catch up to the system. And I am very, very concerned from what I'm looking at this budget that we're cutting our technology, and yeah, we'll fund it in the future, but there's a point where we get so far behind we can't catch up. And so I just would ask, what's the plan to catch up? Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Crum. Anyone want feedback? Senator Dockstader in the back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A little more feedback. Not as big as the banking industry, but I look at my own business. Little weekly paper tucked into the mountains out west, and we, over the years, changed it using technology to the point where this broadcasts our 3 radio stations. And if you allow me to, a little personal note here, on a Friday night in the football season, because of technology, if we don't have 30,000 plus viewers for a high school football game, then we didn't stand on what we were. We used technology to change it and are still using it and will continue to use in the coming years. So I'm a little concerned about the cutbacks, like my good colleague, just not at the level of 60 banks.
Thank you, Senator Dockstader. Further discussion, Senator Guru.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, you know, Gov's rec was to fully fund this, and we literally just cut it in half. The idea was the JAC thought they were trying to cut the budget as much as possible, get those dollar amounts down. The feeling on JAC was, we're going to do this 1 year, and then we're going to fund the other half in the second year. And that was a decision of JAC. Now, the discussion we talked about, was talked about in testimony about working on getting, the economies of scale with hardware, software, and all the things that go into this, and then work out a system where each department, would say, okay, you've got 35 computers in your department, we're going to be out there in February and we're going to replace your units. They're going to do that, but they're just going to do it for 1 year. And then we're going to have to come back and then fund it a second year. That was the JAC position.
Thank you. Further discussion? Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good question. I will say this, there is a specific program that I was told immediately needs, and that was the SNAP program for a number of reasons, and I think that will be addressed next week.
Thank you. Further discussion on, yes, Senator Steinmetz. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is kind of a broad, overreaching question that applies to the entire budget and this section. I was wondering if at some point we have the long-term fiscal profile and the goldenrod on our desks. And I was wondering if we could have someone from the Appropriations Committee take us through those documents, just so that we know the funds and the amounts we're dealing with that may be available, so that we know what decisions we could possibly make. If someone is wanting to add more back in, then we'll know kind of fiscally what that would look like and what funds it would impact.
Thank you, Senator Steinmetz. Fair request. Going to your desk mate, Senator Guru.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, and it is a good question, and it is a fair request, and I'll be able to do that at some point before we leave this building this afternoon. And
Thank you.
I think it's over there in the copy room, and we'll do a few more sections, and then we get a break point, I'll be able to walk through that.
Thank you, Senator Guru. Further discussion on Section 77, Enterprise Technology Services. Further discussion? Seeing none, Section 77 is closed. Next section is 80, Department of Corrections. Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do bring you Section 80, Department of Corrections, which can be found on page 62 in the budget bill and page 35 on your SR. I wanted to just highlight 3 specific points on this one. The JAC did adopt the governor's rec of $350,000 enterprise funds for the Wyoming Honor Conservation Camp. We did adopt the governor's rec of $484,000 general fund and decreased of 2 full-time equivalent positions for a net to zero position reconciliation from 3131 to unit 1111. And again, that's just a shift of funds. And then finally, the JAC did adopt the governor's rec of $600,000 general fund for medical increases. So unless there are any further questions, Mr. Chairman, that concludes the Department of Corrections 80.
Thank you. Any discussion, any questions on Section 80, Department of Corrections? Any questions? Seeing none, 80 is closed. Next for consideration is 81, Department of Parole. Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, this is Section 81, Board of Parole, which can be found on page 64 in your budget bill, page 36 on the SR, and Mr. Chairman, this is just simply the standard budget only. So,
Thank you, Senator Salazar. Any discussion on Section 81, Border Patrol? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, Section 81 is closed. Next one for your consideration is Section 085, Wyoming Business Council. Senator Larson.
Mr. Chairman, I bring you Section 85, Wyoming Business Council. It is on page 64 of your budget and page 37 of your SR. The JAC denied all governor's recommendations and left $2 million and 2 FTEs directed to the state budget department. And that's all, that's what we did, so I'd take questions.
Thank you. Any discussion on Section 085? Questions? Senator Crum.
Thank you, Senator Barlow. Just a question on Wyoming. We've been always known as a business-friendly state. So my question to the Joint Appropriation Committee is, what are we doing here to be business-friendly and welcome business? What are we going to do that? What's the official mechanism in place to do that? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Crum. Senator Salazar.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good question. As you can imagine, extensive conversations, extensive comments, extensive testimony. I think what it comes down to is this, that there are some members of the legislature who are not confident in the leadership of the Business Council. I think there are some members of the legislature that believes that the Wyoming Business Council picks winners and losers. And I believe that there are some members of the legislature who believe that the monies that were allocated were not used effectively enough. With regard to the ability to have the state continue to draw in businesses, to help businesses, small businesses, there was discussion that there are other avenues. There is, first of all, the SLIB board, which has elected officials rather than board members deciding how to use public funds. Number two, there was the Wyoming Energy Authority that might be a conduit for that. And finally, there was suggestions of the grants office within the executive branch to do that. And so I think there are avenues by which much of what the Business Council has done could be done in other avenues. I think this is a change, it's a dramatic change, and we're going to have that discussion. And I will tell you, my personal opinion is that I don't have confidence in the leadership of the Wyoming Business Council right now. And I've heard that from other legislators. And so that was the framework by which the discussion occurred. But as you know, the JAC is only a makeup, a portion of the legislature. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but that was the discussions that we had.
Thank you. Further discussion. We'll go with Senator Ide because he was actually a little bit, and then we'll come back to Senator Love and Senator Crum. Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to address maybe some of those questions of good senator from Albany County. You guys probably all know where I stand on this with my libertarianish mind. Economic development is really not the role of government. Economic development is low taxes and low regulation. And I think that that's our role here. I think our role isn't to be a venture capitalist here to private entities. And, picking winners and losers, I hate to even go there because that's really not our job to decide who gets money here. And I think we leave it in the taxpayers' pockets for them to decide what's the best economic development. So that's just a little play off of what good senator brought up there. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Ide. I'm going to go to Senator Taft Love, and then we'll go to Senator Crum. Senator Taft first. Love first. Taft Love, sorry. We're still on 85, Wyoming Business Council. Please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, through you. So I hear a lot of dismantling, and I hear a lot of could-be's and would-be's and possiblies, and we'll have that conversation. But in the meantime, we're dismantling the organization that currently is the economic development arm of Wyoming. And so I would like to have a more certain future for our communities as we move forward than to just dismantle it and say we're going to talk about it here eventually and we'll suspend all other operations until then. So that would be my first question, is how are we going to move forward? How are we going to proceed with projects that already exist? I know of applicants in my own district who have applied for help with the Business Council. It's in process. It should be approved this month. And if this goes through, there's a huge factory expansion that won't happen in my own district that supports the agricultural industry. What does that look like? And it's through a loan interest rate program with them. And there's not actually any dollars out of the state's pocket. It's all done through a bank with a guarantee from the state. And so there are a lot of programs here that are being supportive of our communities without actual dollars leaving our bank account. What are we going to do for those people?
Thank you, Senator Love. Senator Crum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, I'm not here to have a debate. This is, I don't think, probably the proper forum to have a debate in, but I'm just trying to ask questions and get answers to specific questions. So please know I'm not trying to have a debate. I'm just trying to get answers to questions. But we talked about just a moment ago the putting these different departments are different places. So my question is there money in this budget since we dismantled the Business Council? Has this money been transferred to other departments or entities to fund those activities that we just talked about transferring? So is there money someplace else?
Thank you, Senator Crum. Senator Salazar.
Within
you can address the chairman.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. We have 2 million with 2 FTEs right now currently in this existing budget. And the thought was, or the discussion was, that was the amount needed to see the completion of current money that's going through for audit purposes and obviously to administer those funds as they're still flowing through. So, and let me make one other comment too to the good Senator Love. My colleague on Appropriations did have a bill with regard to the Wyoming Business Council. And so there was a framework in that bill for many of the parts of the question that you had asked. But obviously that didn't succeed. And so we'll go forward and see what the intention of the body is.
Thank you for the discussion. Senator Rothfuss on Section 85.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I have some questions and some concerns. So the Wyoming Business Council has traditionally reported through the Minerals Business and Economic Development Committee as the home committee. And so we've worked with the Business Council over the years and have worked on trying to reform it, worked on trying to improve it, change what programs are out there and try to be responsive to the interests and desires and hearing the same types of feedback that I think the Appropriations Committee has heard. And I think there's some areas where we've made improvements and perhaps other areas where we've struggled. And one of the areas that I think has really drawn the most attention and the most criticism has been the Business Ready Communities Grant Program. And that's obviously a substantial part of the funding that goes through the Business Council and I think is the source of the attention that has led to concerns. So through the Minerals Committee, we've tried to find surgical ways, tweaking the statute. We haven't done anything in recent years, and perhaps we should have, so that's probably on us to have not done as good of a job as we could have. But when we get to it, Mr. Chairman, the reality is the Business Council carries out legislation. They don't do their own thing. They're not there making it up as they go along. We had statute in place, we had programs that we approved through statute, they implemented those programs, and those programs drew criticism, and again, rightly so for many of those programs, that they've drawn criticism. I guess the concern I have is that the response that we're seeing at this point in time is more of a Hulk smash type approach to the Business Council rather than what we've tried to do through the Minerals Committee, which is to try and identify concerns, address those concerns through strategic legislation. And I guess the first question I have is why wouldn't we try to work through that process and bring legislation that's very specifically trying to do exactly that, and maybe work through an interim committee instead of individual legislation? If the body wants to see significant changes to the Business Council, I think working through the Minerals Committee, calling it for a special consideration as an interim topic and really addressing it through the interim would be appropriate. So I'd ask if that is something that maybe the committee would be amenable to. The next question I have gets to specific programs. It's similar to my good colleague asking where these things are going. Taking it down to $2 million really is a wind down. That's basically we're going to get rid of everything, but you need some time and money to get rid of everything. So it's the death thrall of the Business Council. But my question is getting to specific programs, and some of these were called out with governor's recs on specific dollar amounts. For example, I have never really heard anyone complain about the Small Business Innovative Research Program, which is a wild success. The SBIR matching funds, where you're matching phase 1 and phase 2 funding, providing bridge funding for the growth of our startups, having a phase 0 program to allow for applications for new research. This has been instrumental in bringing millions, tens of millions of dollars of federal research funds to Wyoming and enabling a startup and entrepreneurship environment that is really second to none based on the population of the state of Wyoming. We do really well in SBIR. We have incredible businesses all around the state. Your communities probably have them. That's funded through the Wyoming Business Council. And I haven't heard, Mr. Chairman, anyone mention that. It's my understanding that that program that I fought for through the Minerals Committee for years, and that we got on the books, we got it in place, it's been wildly successful, and in one fell swoop, we're just eliminating it without conversation, not even addressing it, Mr. Chairman. And that's the concern, and I don't even know if it came up. I don't even know if it came up as a conversation in the Appropriations Committee. It certainly didn't come up on the floor at this point in time. As far as we're concerned, it's just one of those little numbers that we see as we're eliminating the Business Council, but it has been a wildly successful program by any measure, and I can't imagine anybody in this chamber could look at the data from that program and say, wow, we've got to get rid of this one. All of those startups that are depending upon it and seeking the federal funds, we should really get rid of them. At the same time, the SBDC has really been a program that I've heard a lot of positive feedback about as far as, again, supporting entrepreneurship and innovation. This is a network of support that the Business Council provides to all startup and small businesses around the state. I've heard zero criticism. I've heard nothing but glowing reviews and appreciation from our small business community, Mr. Chairman, for the existence of that program. Why is that program being eliminated? Who indicted that program? Because I haven't heard it, and I honestly can't imagine anybody on the on the Appropriations Committee has, because we certainly heard no objections on the Minerals Committee, the Home Committee for the Business Council. It was a great program, very effective, very much appreciated. Similar for Manufacturing Works. Manufacturing Works has really been an instrument and a tool for business development throughout the state. It helps those small businesses, it helps innovation, it brings together innovators, helps develop those small businesses, relatively small investment. This isn't the Business Ready Community Grant Program. This isn't a loan program. This is something that helps the State Innovation Network thrive. That goes through the Business Council. We worked to develop that program through the Minerals Committee. I've heard no conversation about it, and as far as I can tell, it's being eliminated out of hand without conversation by the Appropriations Committee, the smash approach instead of the surgical approach that I believe would be warranted under this circumstance. And again, I won't belabor the fact that there are many other similar programs through the Business Council that have been rewarding and have been supported, and you haven't heard any criticism of. You've heard criticism of the Business Ready Community Grant Program and the way that it distributes funds and the return on investment in those funds. So, Mr. Chairman, scaling that back for a short period of time, revamping it and figuring out how better to spend those tens of millions of dollars that flow through that program, that's reasonable. I think I can speak for the Minerals Committee and say we'd be happy to take that on. But the idea of one program that's a high-profile program has been failing, so we're going to literally eliminate the entirety of the Business Council and all of the highly successful programs without discussion is of concern. So I'd ask the Appropriations Committee, is this intentional? Were there complaints about all of these subsidiary programs that are also being eliminated? Or is it just a victim of circumstance where we're getting rid of them because we're throwing out the good pieces with the one major concern program, Mr. Chairman? So I'd appreciate those answers and further discussion.
Thank you, Senator Rothfuss. Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So members, I want you to know, when the CEO of the Wyoming Business Council came to the Appropriations Committee, I directly asked him, how much funding do you need to do the work that you want to do and be successful? And you know what his answer was? His answer was between 1.1 and 1.7 billion dollars. That was his answer to me. What was the governor's rec? The governor's recommendation was 55 million. Is there a disconnect? So let's say we went forward and approved of the $55 million from the executive branch to the Wyoming Business Council. You have the CEO on record in testimony in front of the Appropriations Committee saying he needs over $1 billion to do what he needs to do. And oh, by the way, plenty of graphs coming to the Appropriations Committee. Those graphs are going down. The Wyoming Business Council has been working for years under this leadership. So not only were we continuing to invest in the Wyoming Business Council, but I didn't see any information, charts that showed any success. So I put it to you, if you have the Wyoming Business Council asking for over $1 billion, and what's the budget of the Department of Health? Almost half of the Department of Health the Wyoming Business Council wants half of that? You can imagine that some of us, with that disconnect, there's something wrong here. I went to the Wyoming Business Council, to the CEO, and I said, the very person who controls your agency, the executive branch, or at least who you report to, is recommending 55 million. You just told this committee you need $1 billion. We're as the second branch of the legislature, who has the power of the purse, there's a big disconnect. So I have questions of public money When the agency wants over $1 billion, the governor recommends 55 million. I think all of you would have those questions, wouldn't you? That is the testimony that we heard. That's why, and I will speak only for myself, that's why I have questions. Questions. I'm uncomfortable. And then I will say lastly this. In my opinion, it's just my opinion, I think there is a growing constituency in this state who is frustrated with the Wyoming Business Council. That's my opinion. You may have a different one. And so it was a drop the mic moment for me when the agency wants $1 billion and the chief executive is requesting 55 million.
Further discussion on 085. Senator Scott.
Mr. Chairman, let me say in general that I'm of the opinion that the best economic development things we can do are to provide a low tax, low regulatory climate with good fundamental government services, meaning the best education system, K through graduate school, that we can develop with adequate health care, and some other cost of living amenities that make Wyoming a nice place to live in, because you've got to make the place attractive so entrepreneurs want to come here and their workforce is trained and wants to come here. And I'm very skeptical of the kind of economic development that goes out and directly tries to buy companies coming in here with loans and grants and other things that really ought to come through the private sector. I do think there's a role for something like the Business Council as the source of information as to what's available where, and what the virtues of Wyoming are. It is a contact for businesses that are looking for a place to go into business. Basically, a salesman for us. And Mr. Chairman, I'm one who thinks that a good part of the elimination here is probably well justified. But I'm looking for some kind of a compromise that leaves us with more of a function than this budget would, but gets rid of some of the things that have not been as successful. So I hope as we go forward, I'm not smart enough to have figured out how do you compromise this one. But, Mr. Chairman, I rise to say I think we do need to think about what can we do that is short of a full elimination that does reduce a fair amount of the function here. And I will say I'm looking forward to looking at the summary numbers of the whole budget, because I really haven't got a fix yet on how much financial pressure we really need to be under in this budget, Mr. Chairman. So I just rise to express a frustration and hope there's some others that will be helpful in working on how can we develop a reasonable compromise in this area, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Scott. Senator Dockstetter was just ahead, and then we'll work across the room. Senator Dockstetter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did our committee, this is quite as I look at this is a pretty clean cut. Did our committee look at, I think my colleague used the word surgical approach. Did we talk about that at the committee level before we essentially looked at a full elimination? This is a pretty important move to the business community. And I realize a lot of this can be done locally. I mean, look what happened in this town and how they reached out to the rodeo community. A lot of that has to be done at the local level, but did our committee take a more surgical look, or was there more discussion on, can we approach this in a different way and look at those cutbacks and look at a way to make this council more effective.
Thank you. Senator Ide had risen, and then we'll go to Senator Steinmetz. Senator Ide.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief here. I don't want to get too repetitive, but just want to emphasize the senator from Bates Creek and behind me here, the vice president, made good, really good comments. And I'm just coming, I don't think we work around the margins here. I think it's root and branch. It's really not something that is the role of the government here. It should be in the private sector. It should be at the local communities, like the good senator back in the corner said. And, you know, there are winners. There definitely are winners. There's losers too. Look at you know, what's going on with the gun company up in Cody right now. You know, they're in lawsuits. You know, the only economic development coming out of that is for the lawyers, for the judges, for the bad concrete deliverers. So I think we get out of the private equity business here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Steinmetz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not sure what I was supposed to say, but I'm here. And one thing that I have learned about economic development is it can be local. In Goshen County, we have assessed a 0.25 cents on every sales tax, every dollar collected of sales tax for economic development in Goshen County. And so some of these things can be taken care of locally and be more locally driven than the Business Council, which may take care of some of the winner and loser situation that we're seeing because it's not a statewide program. And Mr. Chairman, I wasn't standing up, but I was glad to comment when you called upon me.
Thank you for not taking someone else's cue. Senator Larson, did you want to go? There's floral things between you and I, so I just want to make sure.
Mr. Chairman,
Please
thank
proceed.
you. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew we all voted on a bill that came out of JAC, and we were trying to work through some of the issues you're presenting to us. We were going to divvy out some of these programs to other agencies, and that's kind of what we were trying to do. Obviously, in this appropriations, we're sending the $2 million to the budget department and 2 FTEs to work on the grants and the loans that are still out there. And yeah, we had a bill.
All right, thank you. We'll go to Senator Garou and come back to Senator Love if he'd like.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too want to, you know, sitting in those meetings, and I want to get to my friend from Bates Creek, and we too deliberated long and hard about trying to find compromise, trying to find, Mr. Chairman, what we thought was, you know, some middle ground. But the bottom line from your JAC was this, and I'm quoting now. We put $500 million, or close to $1 billion into this, and we got nothing to show for it, and we are going to cut it to zero. Verbatim. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's a good quote. Thank you.
Further discussion, further comments. Senator Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to reply to a couple things I heard here. You know, YDOT, when they were asked what they need, they said they need 600 million. We're not offering them that, but we're not going to completely eliminate YDOT. As far as the gun company in Cody, I believe if it wasn't for the Wyoming Business Council, that gun company in Sheridan wouldn't be here, period. So there's success and there's failures. But that's not any reason to completely eliminate. As far as return, just in my area, 2 of my northern counties that I share with a couple members of the JAC, the investment in those 2 counties in the last few years has been $74 million. $74 million just in those 2 little counties. That's significant up there. So to completely eliminate this thing is not forward thinking. If we're not satisfied, if some folks are not satisfied with the leadership in it, then we can address that. You know, we go in with a scalpel. We address the problems with the agency. We just don't have a train wreck on Main Street to try to fix it. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, further discussion. Senator Love.
Mr. Chairman, through you. just because we've heard it a couple times that this isn't the role of government. It is very much been the role of government since the onset of our nation. Our state has done it in well, I can't even get that out of my mouth today. Anyway, perpetuity, is that right? Perpetuity, there you go. Anyway, so this is just the way our government has always helped its citizens function and grow, because it's our job, it is our function to be part of infrastructure. And so the infrastructure of all these systems is centralized around its government, and its government is here for the good of the people. And because of that, that is why we support economic growth. I would agree with Mr. Cooper's idea that maybe the Business Council needed to do a better job of giving us measurables. And anybody in business will tell you if you measure it, it will get better. And so that accountability piece, I think, is very much it's our opportunity in the Senate and the legislature to require those measurables so that we know what our job production is, our economic input versus its generation is. All of those things are very much measurable, and we can get there. So I just wanted to make that comment because it's very much been a part of our country from the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Love. Just a reminder to the body, we don't refer to each other by name when we're on the floor. As a chairman, I can certainly call on members by name, but on the floor, just refer to each other as the good member or whatever. We'll go with Senator Jones first, and then Senator Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to point out, in my neck of the woods, we have a very fine gun manufacturer. I'm told the only reason why they're there is that they saw the Wyoming Business Council at a convention, and they chose our lovely state and the lovely town that I live in to build guns in Wyoming. Without the Wyoming Business Council being at that convention, we would not have that gun manufacturer. And I just want to point out one other thing is that sitting here, I realize that the JAC is allowed to make this budget up for us, but I think I'm a little bit irritated that we just completely eliminated a whole program for the whole state of Wyoming. And how many people are on that committee? 10, 12? You made that decision for all of us.
So members, let's be clear. We're debating the merits of the bill. And I know some of these things are very personal and close to home. But let's continue to discuss the issues that are at hand, the concerns, and thank you very much, Senator Driscoll.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I sat in the back and was going to decline to talk on this, and I feel kind of compelled at this point on a general policy issue, folks. This is the first time I've ever seen this. So a committee decided to eliminate a state agency. It wasn't a program, it's an entire agency. And it was done without an interim committee, and it was done without some other things. I quizzed in committee how many employees they visited with. Did they visit with the executive director? Did they review the programs? Did they talk to any board members? And the answer was no. Folks, I'm going to tell you it's borderline criminal to eliminate an agency without bringing them in and having an honest discussion about what they're doing right and doing wrong. And it's hard. I said yesterday I wasn't going to stand up and do a lot of this, but it was very difficult for me to see a trend to come out that you dislike an agency or you've heard about an agency you don't like, and without doing any due diligence, you just step up and try to eliminate the agency. That's not how we do business in the state of Wyoming. I encourage all of you, if it happens, to say, slow down, talk about it. There's some real errors made. When you look at the testimony in there, the agency did itself no favors. I'll admit that. But I can tell you almost any town of size in Wyoming has had a direct impact. I go up in my community, we got rail parks, I drive by business parks. If you want to talk about billions of dollars impact, you don't have to go a mile from this Capitol, and you're gonna find out that it had a major impact on thousands of jobs and billions of dollars of investment. And that's part of what's fueling our state. I find it really interesting. We're opposed to investing in any of this, and I'm gonna back up on one of them that I just talked about yesterday. We just had one in this body comes up that brings over 100 jobs. Do you know there's 100% chance if the government doesn't help bring it here, it doesn't come? Do you want tumbleweeds on Main Street, or do you want green grass and jobs? And that's really what it's about. It's that you can talk base policy of what government can and can't do. And I'm not saying maybe this shouldn't be changed or rearranged or redone, but I can tell you 49 other states are competing for every job that the state has. The only ones that we automatically get are ones that are tied to the mineral industry because they can't go somewhere else to get them. So let's think really hard before we get rid of agencies just carte blanche without taking an interim to talk about what they've done right or wrong. Just because they do a poor job of presenting doesn't mean they ought to die.
Thank you. Further discussion on 085. 085, I'll go to Senator Rothfuss first, and then Senator Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'm still looking for answers to my original questions about all of the innovative and effective programs that I've seen the results of over the years as we evaluated the Business Council through the Minerals Committee. And again, every year we get reports based on the activities of the Business Council through the Minerals Committee, that is the home committee. So we review those reports, we have discussions about the impacts, and honestly, Mr. Chairman, I've been very happy over the years with the results. And again, that's not to say that we can't do better. We can always do better. But when I look at results, again, for the SBIR research, the SBDC, when I look at the Main Street program, some of these core programs that have been around for many years, they're valued. They're highly valued by our communities. I know my community values them. And the idea that they get thrown out based on the criticism of the Business Ready Community Program just doesn't make sense to me. So again, I'm just going to express one more time, I would like to hear and understand whether there was any discussion about the nuances of these individual programs, because I still haven't heard any. Please, Mr. Chairman, I'd ask for a little more analysis on what was wrong with the SBIR program. Why did we need to get rid of that? What was wrong with the Main Street program? Why do we need to get rid of that? What was wrong with the SBDC? Why do we need to get rid of that? If we're eliminating an agency, I think we can take the time to understand what the agency did and evaluate it surgically, not with the giant sledgehammer.
Thank you, Senator Rothfuss. Senator Cole, and then Senator Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I would feel remiss if I didn't say anything about this. This Business Council is a product of us. That's where it came from. We developed it, and here we are. It's far from perfect. I think it's certainly maybe the goals have to be redefined. It's turned into a problem, and maybe it's not so much even the Business Council, it's the whole process that gets us where we at the end, where they approve projects or disapprove projects. Something has to be done, but what would that be? Replace it with another program. Fact is that we're only here partially during the year. We allocate monies to do certain things. Well, who is going to do that? I mean, I think it's a fair discussion to say, where do we go from here and what do we do? But changing everything carte blanche without, in my mind, a plan on how we're going to get there seems to be, not thoroughly thought out. I think it's clear there's an issue, and I think it goes beyond the Business Council as an issue. I'm not going to have sole blame for those folks doing what they're doing. I think it's a problem that can't go away just by elimination. We're going to create another problem. So I'd like to have a solution that I can see a path forward on what we're going to do, because absolutely doing nothing and everywhere is probably not a good solution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Cole. Senator Driscoll.
Mr. Chairman, a direct answer to the good friend that lives in a town that has a county name. You're absolutely correct. There was no testimony whatsoever, and I would be very suspicious. I won't say it out front, but I don't think there's a single committee member on that committee that could have named 3 programs out of 15 that the Business Council does. I honestly believe that. I asked questions directly about it. I asked how much they talked to people, what they dug into. When we brought them in, I think they got caught off guard. They didn't do a good job. I'm going to say it up front, and I feel bad about saying this because I don't like talking hard about state employees. They did a poor job of presenting their budget, and they asked for a whole lot, and they got penalized really hard. This was a tough committee to come in front of because they tend to work with pretty heavy tools, and consequently, for a poor job, we didn't ask them back. We didn't even do good callbacks. We did a callback, but didn't spend time on it. And like I said, I admonish everybody, if we're going to eliminate agencies, folks, and maybe it ought to be in statute, it needs to go to an interim study. I look at the Minerals Committee. You people have known it for years how it operates. I can tell you, for me, as I dealt into it, I had no clue about part of the stuff they've done. They've done lots of help for businesses on forming businesses. They do a lot of things that aren't direct. I kept hearing this payout. They give money. And folks, the Business Council doesn't give money to businesses. They give them to towns and areas. And, there's a huge misunderstanding of what it is and what it does. And because we didn't understand it, we chose to eliminate it rather than to educate ourselves and to try to reform it. I happen to know a lot of the members on the board of the Business Council. They're great business guys. They're guys that do wonderful jobs out there in the state of Wyoming. And I think we need to go back and say, we're going to trim you. I think without doubt, we're going to trim them back. But come back to us and justify what you're doing. Look inwardly, what are you doing right and wrong? And maybe put some legislators on to educate ourselves so we don't do this again. But no, your answer is no, it was a knee-jerk move. I can say it up front. If someone wants to refute that, they can, but I couldn't find anybody, including myself, that sat down and talked to them. So.
Thank you. Further discussion on 85, further discussion. Senator Nethercott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To say that it's a knee-jerk reaction, I think the severity of the blow may have been unexpected and was, but only kind of. The Business Council has been under scrutiny by the legislature for as long as I've been in it, with severe criticism and concern. You know that, we know that. Anyone who's served in here longer than 5 days is aware of that long history of criticism to the Business Council. The failure of communication between their real governing board and their CEO and the chief executive of this state is profound. To have found yourselves in a position where the legislature is completely defunding you shows a real lack of understanding of how the program is actually supposed to work, which is a relationship with the legislature as an economic development arm for the state. So to deny that we are unaware of the criticisms is disingenuous. To say that this is a complete surprise is also disingenuous. This is a shot across the bow that says the legislature is unsatisfied with the relationship it has with its primary economic development arm. It can and must do better. I fully support the state having an economic development arm to help facilitate the type of programs we want it to move forward. And I'm not suggesting that the agency hasn't had some successes. And we can claim that it's a failure to communicate those successes, or it hasn't had enough successes, or it's not operating in a way that we intend. So yeah, there's a massive failure to communicate from the chief executive to that board to this body, and it's okay for us to acknowledge that and to acknowledge that, yeah, under this legislature, that shot across the bow came a little more suddenly than perhaps previous legislatures, but I am looking forward to how the state's economic development arm can be rebuilt, supported, and everyone can have a greater understanding of what their vision is and how to meet those measurable outcomes on behalf of the people of Wyoming. So, any allegation that this was a surprise it was not. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We'll go to the chairman of the committee, we'll go to Senator Salazar, and then I have two folks that arose after that. Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to make it very clear to the floor. I want to make a comment with regard to the employees of the Wyoming Business Council. Fantastic employees. Nothing but the best praise for them. Extraordinary people. I said that 2 years ago. 2 years ago, when the Wyoming Business Council came to the Joint Appropriations Committee, and I was not chairman, I made it a point to recognize one of those members. I still have the same view of that person today. My issue is I don't have confidence in the direction of where they're going. And if you don't have confidence in the direction of where your ship is going, why would I refuel it?
Thank you. Senator Pearson. Senator Pearson, and then to Senator Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm just wondering if leadership of the Wyoming Business Council kind of had a feeling that this was coming, why was it not his responsibility to get a hold of all of the employees, or at least the leads of these programs, and have them come to the Appropriations Committee meeting when the Wyoming Business Council was supposed to be there, and actually say, you need to show up and present to the Appropriations Committee all of the things that you're doing with these different programs across the state in committee. I mean, to put it on the Appropriations Committee that they didn't reach out to all of these different programs is wrong. If they knew that possibly there was not going to be funding coming their way, that's their responsibility to ask the program managers in all of these different communities to get to Cheyenne and testify to the Appropriations Committee, in my opinion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Pearson. Senator Cooper. If anybody else would like to speak, just start taking numbers. Senator Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple more things I heard here. I hear several people speaking against the leadership and the direction. Then let's work on that part of the issue. And to my good friend in the corner here, I'll shut up on that. This is more than a shot across the bow. This is a full-on torpedo attack. This is a complete decapitation of a major part of the state of Wyoming. And to the good senator behind me here, when he talked about the role of government in economic development, this building right here, if you go down to the middle and look out the front door, all the way down Capitol Avenue, you're going to see a monument to the greatest project of government, of public-private cooperation for economic development in the history of this nation. That's the Transcontinental Railroad. It was a massive public-private project, and it's responsible for every community along the southern part of the state. If it was not for that project, probably the state of Wyoming wouldn't be here. We'd still be in the Dakotas. So is there a role for public-private? Yes, sir, there is. There's a definite role. Is there a better way to do it than what we're doing it? Quite possibly. But you don't just cut the head of the snake off. You don't have a decision of this magnitude without a discussion of this magnitude. This is absolutely the wrong approach. Thank you.
Well, I think we are having that discussion now. So, Senator Anderson. Senator Anderson, you're up next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm the chairman of the committee that has economic development as one of their charges. And I can tell you that economic development for the states these days moves very fast, and it has lots of tentacles that control it. We can no longer just rely on our low taxes and low regulation to bring business into Wyoming. Every other state can have that. In fact, they offer that if that's what the company wants. What we find in surveying the companies, though, is that's not what they want. They don't look at low taxes. They're looking at environment, they're looking at employees that meet their criteria. They're looking at all kinds of other issues to bring their businesses somewhere. And that's what the Economic Development Group for Wyoming has to do. They have to figure out what that is that that company wants and make sure we can comply with that. We can no longer just say, look, we got low taxes and low regulation. Come on to Wyoming. That was 100 years ago we could do that, and we've been relying on that for quite some time. Over the last 20 years, we've tried to change that model. The legislature realized they needed to do something different, formed the Wyoming Business Council, and had them get into that and get into the mode of economic development in the world in this century. And we need to continue with the Wyoming Business Council. I see that we have some, maybe some people that we don't like in that business council, and I agree that maybe we ought to do something with that, but this is a drastic measure to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Anderson. Anybody else want to speak to this? Anybody else want to speak to 085, Wyoming Business Council? Senator Nethercott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to follow up from my comments, this isn't about individuals or any employees. It's about statutory programs of the agency and whether or not they're working for the people of Wyoming, and how the relationship between that agency, the legislature, its board, and the chief executive have been functioning, which I would say is quite dysfunctional through no intention, but just perhaps a profound failure to communicate. One of the concerns I have with, I agree with the senator from where the good chocolate's made, it was a torpedo, it is a torpedo, as opposed to a shot across the bow, and that's an accurate statement. What we have identified here is truly the specific rationale for why that's occurred. There has been general dissatisfaction for years. And I believe everyone in this room can acknowledge that. So the surprise factor shouldn't be, but the general dissatisfaction is here, and there has been a failure on our end to communicate and a failure on all parties' ends to communicate to help properly identify what the problem may or may not be with the agency, to understand how to retool it or how to break it down. So that is generally my greatest concern, is that we have done a torpedo without accurately identifying what the primary problem, if in fact there is one, may be. So I look forward to driving that conversation with the full state's involvement, as what this action has most definitely caused, to help identify the expectation of the economic development arm for the state and what our expectations are as well, so that those employees can help meet them. Because without clear standards, they're set up for failure. And so it's our obligation, and the chief executive's chief obligation, to set up those clear standards so that they can be successful. So I look forward to our conversation in doing that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Nethercott. Senator Grew.
Thank you. Just real quick, hopefully to close this out. And to answer a question that came up, because I want to make sure everybody understands the process that JAC goes through. We hear from the departments, we give them time to talk, we do call them back if we have questions, and then we go through the budget and we do markup. Then we take an afternoon of public comment. It's a little bit on the disjointed side, and so we don't really do a lot of that, and that may be a failure of ours in the system. But in answer to a question that came up earlier from one of my good friends from the southwest part of the state, that it's something that, as far as why didn't a lot of people show up, well, that's not the way that part of the process works. But we make a budget to bring to this body, and then you get to decide. You hear from your constituents. That's how that process works, and that's what we're going through right now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Anybody else on the Wyoming Business Council? 085. Senator, where the good chocolate is, I'm assuming that's what we're... Please proceed, Senator Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do agree with the young lady in the back corner here. This was not a surprise. I think there's been, was it a communications failure? Probably so. But where was that failure at? Every time I've had a problem in business,
and people haven't met my expectations, it's because I haven't properly expressed my expectations. I thought I did. I told them what I wanted, but they didn't hear what I wanted. So maybe that failure is not 100% on the part of the business council. Maybe part of that failure is on ours. Maybe we're partly responsible. And maybe we need to do a better job of communicating what our expectations are of them. I think that's probably a better approach than just to completely dismantle a potentially great tool for the state of Wyoming. Thank you.
Thank you. And clarity of expectations and communicating them, we expect chocolate next time. Further discussion on 085, further discussion on 085, seeing none. 085 is closed, Wyoming Business Council. Next for our consideration, 090, Wyoming Energy Authority. Senator Larson.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I bring you section 90, Wyoming Energy Authority, page 65 in the budget, page 37 in your SR. It's a standard budget only, so it's an easy one. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Senator Larson. Discussion on 090, Wyoming Energy Authority. Going once, going twice, seeing none. Section Energy Authority is closed, 90 is closed. Next one for our consideration is 091, Stable Token Commission. I see Senator Driscoll.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I bring you section number 91, Stable Token Commission, page 38 on the summary sheet, page 66 on the budget book. Folks, they didn't do a whole lot here. Well, they did quite a little, but it's done in just a couple motions. The first motion, they denied the Gov's rec at $8,098,315 for their standard budget. And then in number 4, they removed funding out of the 300 series. And what they really did, folks, is said, you're going to live on kind of what you've got and what comes in off of the thing until next year. And if it's not working, they're going to take another look. But they cut back the base budget of it, and hopefully the thing runs. That's kind of the way they left it. I'd stand for questions or answers from.
Thank you very much, Senator Driscoll. Any questions? Any questions on 091, Stable Token Commission? Going once, going twice. Stable Token Commission is closed. Next one for our consideration is 096, State Budget Department. Senator Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you Agency 96, State Budget Department, page 66 on the budget and page 38 in the budget book. One main action taken on the State Budget Department, that's footnote 10. And this is in relation back to what we were just talking about on the floor. It was to try to backfill. They added 2 full-time equivalent positions to the Grant Management Office to manage the outstanding obligations, grants, loans, and administration expenses of the Wyoming Business Council. Depending on what we do, that may go up, down, sideways, whatever, but that was the main part of it. I would stand for any questions.
Thank you, Senator Driscoll. Any questions on 096, State Budget Department? State Budget Department, seeing none. Next for our consideration, and that is closed. Next for our consideration, 098, Office of Guardian Ad Litem. Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I bring you section 98, Office of Guardian Ad Litem, which can be found on page 67 in the budget book or page 39 on your SR. Just one item here. The JAC did adopt the governor's rec, and we decreased by one position, one full-time equivalent FT position, and transferred that position to the Department of Administration and Information. Barring any questions, Mr. Chairman, that's the explanation.
Thank you. Any discussion, any questions on 098, Guardian Ad Litem? Any questions? Any questions? Seeing none. Guardian Ad Litem 098 is closed. The next one for consideration is 101, Supreme Court. Senator Driscoll.
Mr. Chairman, I bring you section 101, Supreme Court, page 69 of the budget and 40 of the budget of the summary sheet. Folks, there's only one they adopted every of the court recs on it, other than footnote 9, which was denied courts rec of $2,280,481 general fund, and increased 13 full-time equivalent positions to change the funding source for these positions from special revenue to general fund. So really what we did is said you can't take the money out of the general fund, it'll continue out of special revenue. Didn't change any number of positions, that was a sideways move. So that was just a policy choice of theirs. It reflects a little differently on the budget. Special revenue doesn't show as spending. We take it out of the general fund, it would have showed as spending. So it was a policy choice. I'd stand for questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. 101, Supreme Court, any discussion, any discussion? Seeing none, 101, Supreme Court is closed. The next one for consideration is 102, Board of Law Examiners, Senator Grew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you section 102, Board of Law Examiners on page 70, which just has a TRP change. And with that, it's stand for any questions.
Any discussion on 102, Board of Law Examiners? Any discussion, Board 102? Seeing none. 102 is closed, Board of Law Examiners. Next one is 103, Commission on Judicial Conduct and Ethics, Senator Guru.
Mr. Chairman, I bring you section 103, Commission on Judicial Conduct and Ethics. And same, just a TRP there, but just one call out because it's the end of an era. If you read number 1, JAC adopts a governance of $500 for the last employee in the enterprise who is still on WordPerfect. She's retiring at the end of the year, so we pay 1 year for her on WordPerfect, and then it's gone, the last one. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Any questions?
Thank you, Senator Guru. Any discussion? Any discussion on 103? 103, any discussion? Seeing none, 103 is closed. Next sections for our consideration are 120 through 146, which are judicial districts. Senator French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Absent objection, I move the Committee of the Whole consider the 27 district courts in block. These 27 district courts can be found in your budget bill on pages 71 through 82, and in your summary sheet / status report on pages 41 through 50. Each district court is considered an agency and is comprised of a judge and staff. The district courts are all generally funded and do not have any exception requests beyond their standard budgets. This motion would include sections 120 through 146.
So absent objection, we'll consider those all together. Seeing no objection, anybody have any questions on 120 through 146 judicial districts? Any discussion on 120 through 146 judicial districts? Seeing none, judicial districts are closed. Thank you, Senator French. Next for our consideration is Agency 151, District Attorney, First Judicial District, Senator Driscoll.
Mr. Chairman, I bring you section number 151, District Attorney, Judicial District number 1, page 50 in the summary sheet, and 82 in the budget. Folks, there's only one deal. They decreased the governor's rec on the TRP replacement program. Other than that, it just stays the same. I'd stand for questions.
Discussion on 151. Discussion on 151. Seeing none. Closed. 151. On to 157. This is District 7. District Attorney number 7, Senator Driscoll.
Mr. Chairman, I bring you section number 157, District Attorney, Judicial District number 7, and which is on page 51 of your summary sheet and 82 of the budget. Exact same as the last one. The only change at all was the TRP program being reduced by half. I'd stand for questions.
Thank you very much. Discussion on District Attorney 7, District 7. Discussion, seeing none. District 7 is closed. 157 is closed. Next is 160, County and Prosecuting Attorneys. Senator French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you a note No. I bring you Section 160, County and Prosecuting Attorneys, page 51 of your summary sheet. Excuse me. On your summary sheet, yes, 51, and page 83 of your budget bill. As you see there, the JAC adopted the governor's rec of $483,345, general fund for county and prosecuting attorneys. Number 2 there is, we had quite a little discussion there. The JAC added $3 million general fund for increased state contributions for counties and for compensation for county and prosecuting attorneys, and added footnote number 1 to specify the distribution of the funds. Your local county attorneys can go to the private sector and probably make 2 or 3 times what they're currently making in many of the counties. So that's what that was the reason we did that, to try to allow the county commissioners to up their salaries. That was the reason for it.
Thank you, Senator French. Any discussion on Agency 160, County and Prosecuting Attorneys? Discussion on County and Prosecuting Attorneys. Senator Craig.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question for the committee on whether or not we can actually do that without changing statute, whether those salaries are tied to a specific section in statute.
Thank you, Senator Craig. Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To answer the good senator's question, I'm receiving from LSO, we can.
Always have a friend to phone. Any further discussion on 160, County and Prosecuting Attorneys? Seeing none, 160 is closed. Next for our consideration is Agency 201, Legislative Service Office. Senator Driscoll. My apologies. I'm told by the Chief Clerk that has been deleted, so my apologies. I didn't give you a microphone on purpose, Senator. It's not deleted on my sheet, but now it is. So the next for our consideration is Agency 205, which is Education School Finance. Senator French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you Section 205, Education School Finance, and you can find that on page 52 of your summary sheet and page 84 of your budget bill. As you can see there's several comments. We pretty much adopted everything the governor recommended. I'll mention number 4. The JAC adopted the superintendent's letter 3 to account for of $18,800,000 and adopted the superintendent's letter number 3 for $5,400,000. And on that one, for projected K-12 funding special education reimbursement obligations, and I'll back up to number 4, the adopting superintendent letter number 3, like I mentioned, $18,800,000 to account for net reductions in fiscal year 27-28 entitlement payments.
Thank you, Senator French. Discussion on Education Finance 205, Agency 205. Seeing none, Agency 205 is closed. Agency 206, Wyoming Department of Education. Senator French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you Section 206, Department of Education. You can find that on page 53 of your summary sheet and page 85 of your budget bill. As you can see, there's 23 items there. Pretty much adopted everything the governor recommended. Might mention number 2, the JAC adopted the governor's rec of $507,043. Special and one full-time equivalent FTE position for the Wyoming Charter School Authorizing Board, transferred from the Department of Corrections Agency, budget request 20. JAC adopted footnote number 1, related to salaries only, to specify that upon the next vacancy on the Wyoming Charter School Authorizing Board, executive director, the position would be reclassified to align with comparable executive level positions. When they came before us and testified, other members can help me out here, but they didn't want the top salary. So that's what that's referencing. They didn't want the top money. They weren't going to pay the top money. So that's kind of what that's referencing. So, and then you go down to number 8, joint appropriations denied the superintendent's letter number 1 of $30 million general fund for the Steamboat Legacy Scholarship Act program. And I think that's because I believe there's already 30 million sitting there. And until the court decides if that is a legal thing to do, we didn't feel there was any need to add 30 million, approve the letter requesting an additional $30 million. So that's kind of where that stood. If we move down, I'll add number 22, JAC added $300,000 general fund to support school districts in providing applied agriculture and farming programs, and added footnote number 2. Line 23, JAC added $50,000 general fund for purposes of processing donated Wyoming meat for school lunches during the next 2 school years, and added footnote number 3. We thought that's pretty important in a state like Wyoming, that wherever you drive in the state, there's a cow looking back at you. So we thought it was a good area to help support those producers.
Thank you, Senator French. Any questions, Senator Boner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A little bit more discussion on that footnote 8. We just had some arguments in that Steamboat Legacy Scholarship Program case. And it seems like, I wasn't there, but it seems like the Supreme Court has some pretty tough questions for the plaintiffs in that case. So in the circumstance that the stay is lifted, say, let's assume that happens right after we get out of here, and that $30 million is gone immediately. Do we have any backup plan, any discussion of a contingency for next school year, potentially? If, say, the stay is lifted, say we could go to the rainy day fund or something like that. Under those circumstances, I understand you don't want $60 million to sit in an account, but was there any discussion about having some sort of contingency plan for, say, if that stay is happened to be lifted between when we adjourn and when we come back in a year?
Thank you, Senator Boner. Anyone want to respond to that? Senator French?
Not really, but I will.
All right, anybody else want to present to it? Senator French.
Mr. Chairman, that is a legitimate concern, but it's an unknown. We don't know when the Supreme Court will make that decision. Might be the day after we all go home, when the budget session's over, or it could be 5 months from now, or closer to when we're back here. You don't want to hear this, but less than a year for the general session. So that's a good point.
Thank you very much for that bright note. Anyone else want to discuss this topic? Senator Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could anybody tell us what is in that account currently, since we haven't expended any monies?
Thank you, Senator Brennan. I see Senator Larson.
Mr. Chairman, June 30, 2025, there was $30,182,475.
Thank you. No pennies. Further discussion? No, that's quite all right. Thanks, that's quite all right. Any further discussion on 206, Wyoming Department of Education? Further discussion, seeing none. 206 is closed. Next one is 211, Board of Equalization. I have Senator Guru.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you to section 211 on page 54 of the summary sheet. And I believe page, gosh, I can't remember now. Let's see, looks like 87 of the bill. Anyway, really no, one change here, just want to bring up. This is a number of departments that kind of are a little bit of outliers, and this one is, did not make it through the last pay table change. And so the JAC adopted the GOV's rec of $72,669 for pay adjustments. That was kind of in arrears for a previous pay adjustment that they were not a part of. So that's all on Board of Equalization.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any discussion on Board of Equalization? Agency 211. 211, going once, seeing none. Next agency at 211 is closed. Next one is 220, Environmental Quality Council. Senator Lark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you section 220, Environmental Quality Council, page number 87 in your budget bill, 54 on your SR. Denied governor's recommendations on the whole agency. They're small dollars. I think it's $4,300, $20,000, $9,200, and $5,100. I'd stand for any questions.
Thank you, Senator Larson. Any questions on Department of Environmental Quality? Any questions on 220, section 220? Going once, going twice, seeing none. Thank you, Senator Larson. 220, Environmental Quality Council is closed. Mr. Vice President, would you come up here when you get a moment, please? Next agency section for our consideration is 270, Office of Administrative Hearings. Senator French.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you section 270, Office of Administrative Hearings. It's, you'll find that on page 55 of your summary sheet and page 88 of your budget bill. It's pretty much a standard budget. There were a couple items there. Number one, JAC denied the governor's rec of $8,636 for Grammarly and Dragon professional license renewals. And I guess because it was hard for me to say. Number two, JAC decreased the governor's rec recommendation of $6,327 by half, leaving $3,164 for the deck replacement program.
Thank you, Senator French. Any discussion on Office of Administrative Hearings? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none. Agency 270 is closed. Next, we have a group of boards. We'll go to Senator Guru.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Absent objection, I move the committee of the whole consider the following boards and commissions in block. These boards and commissions can be found in your budget bill on pages 88 through 102 and in your SR on pages 55 through 66. The following boards are funded exclusively with special revenue of their own generation, and do not have any exception requests beyond their standard budgets. This would include sections 12, that's the Board of Architects and Landscape Architects, 17, Board of Radiologic Technologists Examiners, 22, Board of Respiratory Care, 28, Board of Registration and Podiatry, 30, Board of Chiropractic Examiners, 31, Collection Agency Board, 34, Board of Dental Examiners, 35, Board of Funeral Service Practitioners, 36, Board of Midwifery, 43, Dietetics Licensing Board, 46, Wyoming Combat Sports Commission, 56, Board of Examiners of Optometry, 58, Board of Speech Language Pathology and Audiology, the one I need the most. Page 61, the Board of Certified Public Accountants. 62, Board of Physical Therapy. Number 64, Board of Hearing Aid Specialists. Board 65, Board of Athletic Trainers. 68, Board of Psychology. Board 78, Mental Health Professionals Licensing Board. 79, the Board of Nursing Home Administrators. 83, Board of Occupational Therapy. 251, Board of Veterinary Medicine. 252, Board of Acupuncture. Absent objection.
Thank you. Any discussion on any of those boards? They were specifically named. That's not actually the entire list. There'll be another motion, I believe. Any on those particular ones? Thank you. Senator Ide. So out of the list that was just given, those are the ones the motion is about. So there is an objection. So I guess whatever your question is.
Oh, no. I was just going to comment on the boards, period. Yeah, all the way across.
So I don't know why we hold that, since this was a motion with absent objection, he just wanted to make a motion, and we'll take comment maybe after this section is closed. Any objection on these? Any objection on these? Seeing none, those particular boards are closed. The next ones, we will take general comment, just do that. On the next motion, Senator Guru.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. After the previous boards and commissions in block consideration, this leaves 10 boards and commissions with exception requests that the members of the Senate Appropriations Committee could explain in block. And so I'll just run through these very quickly. There were some changes here made by your JAC. Number 16, Board of Barber Examiners. Remember, this is their own money. On page 68 of the budget bill and 55 of the SR, JAC adopted an increase in postage, then reduced the exception request of $6,000 for travel by half and approved an increase for professional contract services. 18, Real Estate Commission. On page 89 of the budget bill and 56 of the SR, the only action was solely related to TRP. Number 19, the Professional Teaching Standards Board. On page 90 of the budget bill and 57 of the SR, JAC approved funds for software licensing and position reclassification, but denied 1/2 of the technology replacement request. Next, board, number 33, Board of Cosmetology. On page 92 of the budget bill and 58 of the SR, that too was a TRP change. Section 38 on the Wyoming Gaming Commission. On page 93 of the budget bill, page 60 of the SR. JAC approved requests related to licensing application, in-state travel, supplies, out-of-state travel, reduced TRP by half, remove spending authority where statutory authority already exists. JAC added a footnote to direct the proceeds from the Breeders' Award as there is not a clear authority to do so in statute. Number 52, the Board of Medicine. On page 95 of the budget bill and 61 of the SR. Your JAC adopted funding for medical licensing software and electronic signature agreement application. JAC applied the 1/2 of the TRP reduction request. Number 54, Board of Nursing. On page 95 of the budget bill and 61 of the SR. JAC approved the annual subscription for software and applied the same 1/2 reduction to all TRP requests. Number 59, the Board of Pharmacy. On page 97 of the budget bill and 62 of the SR. We did the 1/2 reduction. Wait a minute, JAC action was a technical correction on this one from to the funding source. Number 75, the Board of Outfitters and Guides. On page 99 of the budget bill and 64 of the SR, JAC denied funding for overtime pay, made a technical correction for the revenue source, and applied the same 1/2 reduction in TRP. Section 84, the Board of Professional Geologists. On page 101 of the budget bill and 66 of the SR, JAC adopted the Chief Executive's request to move 2 FTE Department Administration and Information for the purposes of physical administration. They were going off their own and going on to A&I. Be glad to stand for any questions or comments that may come.
So we'll go with any specific questions on any of these particular boards or commissions that may have come up in this motion. This is an absent objection motion. I will give opportunity for broad comments on boards and commissions as soon as this is. Any comments? If you want broad comments, just hold a bit. Questions, we have a question on one of these boards and commissions that was just named off. Is that accurate? Please Senator Hutchins.
Just clarification on the TRP, it's not necessarily software, it could be just a change of, update of a computer.
So there's a
That's
question
true.
broadly about TRP. Senator Guru.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Yes, TRP means hardware, software, all the way across the board, whatever their request was. Like I say, these were their own funds, but those, we chose, the JAC chose to still have the TRP request.
I found that to be a point of interest, point of inquiry, so that is not, so absent objection, we will close that section and take any general comments about boards and commissions. Thank you. Senator Ide.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First bill I ran when I got here 3 years ago, it was to limit occupational licensing for cosmetology in cutting hair, in braiding hair. And the senator from Bags will get a kick out of this because he said, Bob Ide wrote in here like George Custer, and he got scalped like George Custer in that meeting. But anyway, the point is, in 1950, only 5% of occupations needed to be licensed to go to work. I think now it's over 20%. I look at this sheet, you know, there's dozens of licensing boards. And the good senator that brought this, I agree. I like that effectively they're self-funded, but it is a barrier to entry in the workforce for sure when you have to spend a lot of money to get to that point. And I just don't, you know, 100 years from now, we might have dozens and dozens more here to license everything. So anyway, that's just my comment. I think we're going too far. We're making it too onerous to go to work when you're ready to go to work. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Ide. Any broad comments, any other broad comments on boards and commissions? So we have cleared boards and commissions off the deck. So ladies and gentlemen, there is a 5 o'clock deadline for submitting, I believe it's 5 o'clock. What? Oh, sorry, the deadline is the end of committee of the whole, which I hope is at 5 o'clock. That's what I was trying to get to. For submitting your second reading budget amendment request, your request. So we're going to take a 10-minute recess for members to stretch your legs and make those requests. And then we are going into section 300 of the budget, section 300. So the Senate will stand in recess for 10 minutes. Oh, I'm sorry, Madam Majority Floor Leader.
The Senate will stand in recess for 10 minutes. Mr. Chairman?
Any further discussion? Any announcements? We're in recess for 10 minutes. Thank you. Senate will come back to order. My apologies, colleagues. We have senators coming back to the chamber. We are getting close to a quorum. We are now at a quorum. I think we still have section 300s to do, but there was a request earlier for the goldenrod and some fiscal overviews, and Senator Grew is going to provide that to members of the body now. Senator Grew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You should have in your inbox the latest copy of the goldenrod. It should be dated 2/12/2026. So I'll give you a second to grab that bad boy. And like I say, this is a 4:20 on Friday when you desperately want to get out of here overview of this. And if you have any questions, see me afterwards up in the office and I'll pour you a drink and I'll explain it. But this is the real high level stuff. On page 1, you'll see this is a summary of all the numbered accounts. And so of all our so this is just kind of an overview summary of all the accounts. But if you turn now to page 2, this is where we're playing right now, the general fund. Changes include only those that have passed committee of the whole and are currently include JAC bills generally related to the firefighter modes. It also includes local government distribution at HB 107, state funded capital construction, HB 111, and Senate File 2, the feed bill, the legislative budget. The bottom line shows the general fund balance before transfers. Line 56 shows that there's 37.1 million remaining in the general fund. That's at the bottom of page 2, line 56. If you go up to line 28, there you'll see this is those first two columns, 25, 26, House and Senate status. That is all the funding requests that are in the budget that are effective immediately for this fiscal year. The next line over, $144,561,668. Those two are the budget totals. Now, if you go to page 3, flip over to page 3, and that is the budget reserve account, the LISRA, and the SIPA. It's important to remember that the BRA, the budget reserve account at the top, has been eliminated, and so that's going to fall away on July 1st. In the LISRA, there's a net reduction of about 56 million, and you'll see that on lines 33 and 34. And the SIPA balance is 228.6 million, and we've got a bill coming up that talks about that, although we've run a few of those. But it is down there on the SIPA. And then if you look at line 50, this is, sometimes we call this the big number of the day, although I don't think it means as much as it used to. But at the moment, on line 50, you look across the top, you'll see $1,535,269,842. That's how much money we have in the LISRA at the moment with all that we've done so far. So then as far as that page 2, when we start working the budget and your amendments start coming in, those are the numbers that will start to change, as well as the budget that comes through, or items that come through in bills that we have appropriations on. If you'll turn to page 4, you'll see now that these are the school accounts, the school foundation account and the school foundation program reserve account. Important to note that these numbers do not reflect any impacts of recal. The balance is currently about 39 million over the $100 million statutory threshold before the LISRA support would have to kick in. If you turn over to page 5, page 5 shows the permanent fund reserve accounts. No change here, but important to note, thanks to actions by this body, and fighting off the one down the hall, both of these fund balances are between the 5 times and 7 times the budgetary statute range. that is kind of a high overview of where we sit right now. And as far as commentary goes, we're sitting pretty good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Senator Grew. We'll proceed now into the 300 series. If members have questions about the goldenrod or any of those things, I think those are best taken up directly with members of JAC or with our very capable staff. So we will continue now with Section 300s. The first section is Section 300 itself, budget balancers and transfers. Senator Driscoll.
Mr. Chairman, I bring you Section 300, budget balancers, transfers. Folks, in this one, JEC denied the governor's letter number 1 of $120 million general fund for a transfer of the general fund to the Corpus Permanent Wyoming Mineral Trust Fund and $125 million of the Corpus Common Permanent Land Fund. In other words, they didn't want to put money into permanent savings. JEC added Section 300, which provides for budget balancing, provides for other transfers, including Section 300B, where JEC directs the state auditor to transfer $138.9 million from the Strategic Investments and Projects account, SIPA, to the general fund. So they're emptying the SIPA out, putting it in the general fund. And Section 300C, where JEC directs the state auditor to transfer $44.3 million from the general fund to the LSRA, the LISRA, and that was the last end of it. So what they've really done is taken all the savings type money, SIPA money, and put it all in the LISRA. And that includes the 300 series. I'd stand for questions.
Thank you. Discussion on Section 300. Section 300, seeing none, close Section 300. 301, borrowing authority, cash flow, executive programs. Senator Driscoll.
Mr. Chairman, I bring you Section 301, borrowing authority, cash flow, and executive programs. JEC added Section 301, which authorizes the state auditor to borrow from the Legislative Stabilization Reserve account, the LISRA, for the general fund for cash flow. Subsection B authorizes borrowing authority for up to $30 million from the LISRA for wildfires. This just makes it where we can write checks if we need to. It doesn't actually move money, but it allows them to either do borrowing or to do transfers on it. I'd stand for question.
Thank you, Senator Driscoll. Questions on 301, Section 301? Seeing none, Section 301 is closed. Next one is 302. This is State Military Department lands, fire suppression. Senator French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you Section 302, State Military Department lands, fire suppression. The JAC added Section 302, which authorizes the governor to reimburse the cost of suppressing fires on any state lands managed by the Wyoming Military Department from the Fire Protection Revolving Account, Public Welfare Emergency Appropriation, and borrow from the Legislative Stabilization Reserve Account, LISRA, not to exceed $20 million.
Thank you. Any discussion on Section 302, 302? Senator Steinmetz on 302, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I just wanted a clarification on page 105 of the budget, Romanet number 3. Are we saying that the governor can also borrow from the Public Welfare Emergency? Because that's a separate entity for fire suppression. I was just curious about that. It seemed like something new.
Thank you, Senator Steinmetz. Thank you, Senator Steinmetz. Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The quick answer is yes. Yes.
We appreciate quick answers. Senator Grew, the bar is set high. Thank you. That's quicker. Any other discussion on 302? Any discussion on 302? Seeing none, 302 is closed. 303, carryover appropriations. Senator Larson.
Mr. Chairman, I bring you Section 303, carry over appropriations, JAC adopted Section 303, which authorizes carryover of funds from prior biennia to 2027-2028 biennium, effective immediately for the following purposes. wild horse and burrow management inclusive of matching requirements, disaster contingency, state capital weekend and special events, Wyoming Staple Token Commission, inclusive of a requirement to endeavor to contract with only Wyoming domiciled entities, and Enhanced Oil Recovery Commission for project only.
Thank you, Senator Larson. Discussion, questions on section 303? Section 30C, seeing none, 303 is closed. 304, Senator Salazar, employee benefit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Section 304, employee benefits, can be found on page 109 in your budget bill. The JC added section 304, which limits amounts to be paid by the state for employee health insurance benefits, and appropriated 2.18 million from the general fund for pre-July 1st, 2008 retiree health insurance premium assistance. Very straightforward. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Salazar. Discussion on 304, employee benefits. Discussion on 304, seeing none. 304 is closed. 305, Flex Authority Executive Branch. Senator Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you section 305, Flex Executive. Folks, this is Flex. It's been in the budget for a lot of years. JEC added section 305, which authorized Flex Authority for the governor to transfer up to 10% of an agency's total appropriation between programs within an agency and up to 5% between agencies. The Department of Environmental Quality, the Department of Health, and the Department of Corrections are exempt from section 305A, I, and II. JAC also added subsection E to specify that any appropriation transferred under section 305 shall not be included in the agency's standard budget. I'd stand for question. This has been a standard Flex.
Thank you very much. Discussion on 305, discussion on 305. 305 is closed. 306.
Mr. Chairman, I bring you section 306. This Flex Judiciary does exactly the same thing. It allows for the Supreme Court to transfer up to 5% between their own programs and the district court budget committee, and to transfer up 5% between district courts. JC also added new subsection C to specify that any appropriation transferred under section 305 shall not be included in the agency's standard budget. I would stand for questions.
Thank you, Senator Driscoll. Any discussion on 306, section 306, section 306? Seeing none. Section 307, the Wyoming section. Personal services transfers, Senator Driscoll.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I bring you section 307, personal services transfers. JAC added section 307, which prevents transfers to and from 100 series personnel services line item. JAC provided exceptions for the Department of DEQ, Department of Health, and Department of Corrections, as well as the Public Defender related to section 2, section 8, footnote number 1, the Wyoming Department of Transportation related to section 2, section 45, footnote 4, and the judicial branch. This keeps them from getting outside of the specific areas on it. Once again, it's been around for a while. I would stand for questions.
Thank you. Any discussion on 307? 307, section 307, seeing none. Section 307 is closed. Section 308, Enhanced Oil Recovery Commission, reappropriation. Senator Larson.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I bring you section 308, Enhanced Oil Recovery Commission reappropriation. JAC added section 308, which reappropriates prior appropriations to the Enhanced Oil Recovery Commission for projects and extends the reversion date to 2028. And I forgot to say that's on page 116.
Thank you. Discussion on section 308. Discussion on section 308. Seeing none, section 308 is closed. Section 309, Senator Larson.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I bring you section 309, Department of Health carryover. It's on page 117 of the budget. JAC adopted the governor's recommendation in the Department of Health's budget request to utilize carryover appropriations for specific purposes. JAC added section 309, which authorizes the use of the carryover appropriations for unanticipated Medicaid expenditures, costs associated with implementing Wyoming Statute 25, Chapter 10, and state facility staffing needs.
Thank you very much. Any discussion on 309? discussion on 309? Seeing none, section 309, excuse me, 309
309.
is closed. Next section for our consideration is 310. Senator Guru.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you section 310. It's on page 119 of the budget, and it's all on page 68 of the summary page. Limitation on salary increases. Well, we didn't raise any salaries, so why would we need that? Well, this is kind of an old friend. And basically, all it's saying is this limits employee salary increases from general funds and provides requirements that salary increases from non-general fund sources be approved by the governor, and provides a similar process for the judicial branch. This is also kind of where we talk about not moving money from the 900 series up to the 100 series. So some of our departments don't mess around with that stuff with contract services going up into the salaries. That's what that is. Stand for any questions.
Thank you, Senator Gru. Any questions on 310? 310, any discussion? Section 310 is closed. Next section is 311, concurrence with Governor's Biennial Budget Development Recs. Senator Gru.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you section 311, which is on page 120 of the budget. JAC added section 311, which outlines the legislature's concurrence with the governor's one-time fundings, sustained funding, or budget reduction recommendations, as well as continuation of all at-will contract employees, that's AWAC positions, in his request and applied to the budget bill unless specified differently within the bill. Stand for any questions.
Thank you, Senator Gru. Any discussion on 311? Any discussion on section 311? Seeing none, section 311 is closed. Section 312, energy matching fund loan. Senator Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you section 312, Energy Matching Loan Fund, page 130 in the sheet and page 68 in the budget. JAC added section 312, which authorized state treasurer upon favorable recommendation by the Wyoming Energy Authority and approval of the governor to enter into a loan up to $16 million from the LSRA for processing rare earth resources located in Wyoming as specified. I would stand for questions.
Thank you, Senator Driscoll. Any discussion on 312? 312. Seeing none, section 312 is closed. Next, section 313, cost benefit analysis, local government grant applications. Senator Larson.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I bring you section 313, cost benefit analysis of local government grant applications. It's on page 122 of your budget. JAC had added section 313, which provides the Office of State Lands and Investments, the State Budget Department, and Wyoming Business Council, or its successor entity, to conduct cost benefit analysis on any grant or loan application at the request of a majority of the members of the State Loan and Investment Board.
Thank you, Senator Larson. Any discussion on 313, section 313? Section 313, seeing none. Section 313 is closed. Section 314, permanent Wyoming Mineral Trust Fund spending policy. Senator Gru.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you section 314, and just going to give you a little warning here. The next three, listen up. Section 314, permanent Wyoming Permanent Mineral Trust Fund spending policy. The JAC added section 314, which changes the permanent Wyoming Mineral Trust Fund spending policy from the five-year average market value of 5% to 4.5%. So we're lowering the amount of money that goes into the permanent fund by 0.5% in the permanent mineral trust fund spending policy, section 314.
Thank you, Senator Gru. Any discussion on the 314? Any discussion on 314? I see Senator Crum standing. Thank you, Senator Crum. Please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. With the 0.5% lowering of going in, did we do a compounding figure to what that looks like over a period of, say, 50 years, what the change is and the value of that fund, and what the benefit would be as far as the spin-off interest that would be available to the state to use for the benefit of our citizens?
Thank you, Banker Crum. Anyone else want to ask a question? Senator Steinmetz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I just need some clarification. I read that a little differently. I think it's the spending policy, not what's going in, it's what's coming out and what the legislature has access to spend. If I'm misunderstanding that, please let me know. I read that exactly the opposite of how you explained it.
Thank you, Senator Steinmetz. Senator Guru, you have two questions, one from Senator Crum and then from Senator Steinmetz. Take them in the order you please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question one, we'll try and get you an answer because we did not. And I think what was the attempt to do was to take money from going into the Permanent Mineral Trust Fund and going to the LISRA. So we're putting more money into money that we can spend and less money that's going to the permanent account. Well, that's,
So
I'm sorry,
through the chair,
Mr. Chairman.
You may be answered one.
Yeah.
You want to do a little more work on the second one?
Sure will.
Or you want to go to it?
Thanks.
I got lots of people standing up now. I'm going to go with Senator Scott because I don't want to have to get him to sit down and get up again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, my question is very simple. Why did you do it?
Thank you, Senator Scott. We'll go to Senator Kolb. He was standing too. Let's take a couple questions.
Mr. Chairman, same question. What was the calculus? What was the reason? Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kolb. Was there somebody else that wanted to ask a question before we go? All right, we'll go to Senator Guru.
Yes. Simple answer is less money into permanent, more money into the LISRA, so it's available for us to spend. Plain and simple. That was the reason. More money in the LISRA.
All right, Senator Crum.
Yes, sir. Follow up to my previous question, Mr. Chairman. Is there a way that we haven't calculated, is there a way we could get that calculation and share with the body?
Thank you, Senator Guru.
I will do my best to get it as fast as I can. Unless.
Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll get that information, Senator.
I think I'm going to make a commitment they'll get that information for the next three as well, because that same approach, I think, is taken at least with several more. So any further discussion or questions on 314? 314, we'll go to 315, Common School Permanent Land Fund Spending Policy. Senator Gru.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you section 315, same Common School Permanent Land Fund, moving that from 5 to 4.5%, same thing. Raise the amount of money in the LISRA, lowering the amount of money towards the permanent fund.
I think we have all the same questions on that, and they've committed to getting information. Any other questions on 315? On 315, seeing none. 315 closed. Now 316, Federal Mineral Royalties Distribution Amendment. Senator Gru.
Mr. Chairman, I bring you section 316, Federal Mineral Royalties Distribution, the OFMR, same here. This adds to section 316, which modifies the distribution of federal mineral royalties over $200 million for the 27-28 biennium.
Thank you very much. Further, any questions on 316? Questions on 316? Seeing none, 316 is closed. 317, de-appropriation, business ready community account. Senator Larson.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I bring you section 317, de-appropriation of business ready community account. JAC added section 317 to de-appropriate all funds in the business ready communities account. That dollar amount is $54.9 million.
Thank you. Questions on 317? Questions on 317? Seeing none, 317 is closed. Next one for consideration is 318, revisions to prior appropriations. Senator Larson.
Oh my, I'm back up. Mr. Chairman, thank you. I bring you section 318, revisions to prior appropriations, page 126 in the budget. JAC added section 318, which amends prior legislation for the energy matching funds and federal infrastructure grants to require a report to the Management Council not less than 10 days before expenditure.
Thank you, Senator Larson. Discussion on 318, section 318. Seeing none, 318 is closed. 319, Wyoming Stable Token Distribution. Senator Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you section 319, Wyoming Stable Token Distribution, page 129 and page 67. JAC added section 319, which changed the Wyoming Stable Token statutory distribution of funds for the 2027-2028 biennium. Folks, this allows them to take the money they make and use it to operate on. In the past, it was going to transfer back into the LISRA, and this lets them actually take that money. You saw where we deleted 8 million out of their budget. Says you kill what you eat. If they're running short, they'll have to come back short. I'd stand for questions.
Thank you, Senator Driscoll. Any discussion on 319, section 319? Seeing none, 319 closed. 320, business relocation incentive, Senator Driscoll.
Mr. Chairman, I bring you section 320, page 130 and page 67, business relocation incentive. JEC added section 320 and 15 million from the Wyoming Tourism Reserve and Projects account one time. Provide funds to attract a rodeo and cowboy museum and Hall of Fame to Wyoming. Specify the distribution and use of the funds. This was the governor's letter. Stand for questions.
Thank you, Senator Driscoll. Any discussion on section 320, section 320? Seeing none, section 320 closed. 321, court security grants, Senator French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you section 321, court security grants. The JAC adopted judicial letter number 1 and added section 321 and $3,649,800, of which $3,284,820 general fund and $364,980 other one-time to provide court security grants with a local match requirement as specified.
Thank you, Senator French. Discussion on 321, court security grants. Discussion, seeing none, 321 is closed. 322, Rocky Mountain Power Project account, Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Section 322, Rocky Mountain Power Project account. The JEC added section 322, which continues the Rocky Mountain Power Project account as requested by the Wyoming Wildlife and Natural Resource Trust. I stand for any questions.
Discussion or questions on 322, section 322? Seeing none, 322 is closed. 323, University of Wyoming Capital Construction Loan, Senator Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you section 323, University of Wyoming Capital Construction Loan, page 133, 134 in the budget, page 67 on the summary sheet. JC added section 323, which amends the 2023 Wyoming Session Laws, chapter 187, section 11B, to discharge the existing interfund loans up $75 million. This is just cleaning the books up. The money still showed on the books, been spent and gone. Stand for questions.
Thank you. 323. 323. Anyone want to visit 22 through 28? Going. 323 is closed. Next for consideration is 324. Modification for authorization to expense Wyoming State Penitentiary Capital Construction Account. Senator Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Section 324, modification of authorization to expend the Wyoming State Penitentiary Capital Construction Account. The JC added section 324, which amends the 2025 Wyoming Session Laws, chapter 161, section 7, which is the authorization to expend the Wyoming State Penitentiary Capital Construction Account to limit the expenditure to $9 million for the Department of Corrections security system, and deposits the remaining funds into the account no later than April 15th, 2026, making it effective immediately the amount of $54.37 million available for expenditure. I stand for any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Salazar. 324. Any discussion? If not, 324 is closed. Next is 325. Senator Larson.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I bring you section 325, legislative intent for future appropriation reductions. It's on page 135 of your budget. JAC added section 325, which states that the legislative intent to reduce the appropriations of any agency determined to be acting outside of the agency or entity's legal authority as provided by Wyoming statute, Wyoming Constitution, or the Wyoming Session Law. Stand for any questions.
Thank you. Any discussion on 325, section 325? Seeing none, section 325 is closed. 326, increase of Hathaway Scholarship Program awards. Senator Guru.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll give you section 326, still on page, whatever it is, 68. Also on page 136, 137 of the budget itself, the JAC added section 326, which increases the Hathaway Scholarship Awards by the amount specified for the 27-28 biennium. Roughly, the increase that we put in was a 30% increase. I know that you all know there is a bill coming from our great education committee that raises it by, I think, 40% and does it in a little bit different way. The year JAC wanted a backup measure because they did not know at that point, they hadn't seen any of the school bills, wanted to put in an increase. We were, of course, as you'd figure, we were a little more conservative, but we put in a 30% increase. If the bill passes and then this will fall away. Thank you. Same for any questions.
Thank you, Senator Guru. Discussion on 326, discussion on 326, Hathaway Scholarship. Seeing none, 326 is closed. 327, National Championship Air Races Repeal. Senator Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you section 327, National Championship Air Races Repeal, page 139, 140 in the budget, and page 67 on the summary sheet. Folks, this was for when we were trying to get the air races to come to Casper for $2.5 million. It just takes it off the books and reverts it back into the account. I'd stand for questions.
Thank you, Senator Driscoll. Discussions on the repeal of the National Championship Air Races. 327 going once. No action. 327 is closed. Next for our consideration is 398 budget balancers transfers to. Senator Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you section 398, budget balancers transfers to, page 141, 142 in the budget, page 67 on the other sheet. JAC added section 398, which provides for additional budget balancing and directs the state auditor to transfer $100 million as much as necessary on June 30, 2028 from the Legislative Stabilization Reserve account to the general fund to bring the ending balance to the statutory reserve amount of $192,765,000. This is what we do at the end of the budget every year. This tells you, good sign, folks, we're one line away from being finished. I'd stand for questions.
Thank you, Senator Driscoll. Any questions on the ballot? Budget balancers, 398, seeing none, 398 closed. 399, repealed sections. Senator French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring you section 399, repealed sections. Bear with me, this is long. JAC added section 399, which repeals the University of Wyoming's loan budget request. That's from 2023 Wyoming Session Laws, Chapter 187, Section 11C. Also, the previous energy matching and federal infrastructure grants reporting requirements. 2023 Wyoming Session Laws, Chapter 94, Sections 321E and 325D, as amended by the 2024 Wyoming Session Laws, Chapter 118, Section 318, and the 2024 Budget Balancer Transfers 3, 2024 Wyoming Session Laws, Chapter 118, Section 334.
Thank you, Senator French. Any discussion on 399? Any discussion on section 399? Section 399 is closed. The next section for consideration, section 400. Oh, I'm sorry, there's no section 400. My apologies. I think we've completed the review of the budget bill. So, members of the Senate, are you ready for the question on the budget, on Senate File 1? All those in favor? I'll do it after. All those in favor of Senate Salazar's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with a favorable recommendation of Senate File 1, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Senate File 1 has passed. Committee of the Whole. Chairman Salazar.
Mr. Chairman, personal privilege, if I may.
Please proceed.
So members, can I have order, Mr. Chairman? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to say just a few things, comments. Regardless of whether you agree or disagree with the JAC's recommendations, starting next week, we all will be owners of the budget. But I just want to say a very big thank you to the Senate Appropriations Committee. They spent not only some time during the summer, but they spent 2 weeks in December, they spent 2 weeks in January. And as you can imagine, these are not easy decisions. Well aware that the decisions that we did end up making could very likely change. So I'd like, if I could ask the Senate Appropriations Committee to stand up and be recognized for their long, hard hours of work, please. Please.
All right, thank you.
And then,
Please
Mr. Chairman,
proceed. Please proceed,
if
Chairman.
I could ask Elizabeth from LSO to please come. Here we go. Please. I cannot say enough about our LSO staff, Don Richards, the whole group. I only have Elizabeth here right now, but they were tremendous. Absolutely, you know they're tremendous. But I just wanted to thank the LSO staff. But Elizabeth here, I think anyone who's come in contact with Elizabeth and asked questions, she is one of the sharpest, brightest women that I have ever met, and she's just incredible. And I think she deserves a round of applause for all that she does.
Hear, hear. Thank you. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Chairman, let's see, where are we on this piece? We already are? Mr. Chairman,
Rise and report.
for sure?
Rise and report for action on Senate File 1.
It's Friday, it's 5 o'clock, we don't do anything good at 4:55. Mr. Chairman, I move that the Committee of the Whole rise and report restricted to the actions on Senate File 1, the budget bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Majority Floor Leader. You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carried. Mr. President.
Committee of the Whole report.
Mr. President, with respect to the budget bill, Senate File 1, the Committee of the Whole heard explanations and closed the following sections of Senate File 1. 69, 70, 72, 77, 80, 81, 85, 90, 91, 96, 98, 101, 102, 103, 120 through 146, 151, 157, 160, 205, 206, 211, 220, 270, 12, 16, 17, 18, 19, 22, 28, 30, 31, 33, 34, 35, 36, 38, 43, 46, 52, 54, 56, 58, 59, 61, 62, 64, 65, 68, 75, 78, 79, 83, 84, 251, 252, 300, 301, 302, 303, 304, 305, 306, 307, 308, 309, 310, 311, 312, 313, 314, 315, 316, 317, 318, 319, 320, 321, 322, 323, 324, 325, 326, 327, 398, and 399, and recommend Senate File 1 do pass. Signed, Senator Barlow, Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Barlow.
Mr. President, I move adoption of the Committee of the Whole report on Senate File 1.
You've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. All those opposed, no. The report is adopted. Thank you. Okay, Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate resolve itself into committee of the whole.
Sounds like deja vu. You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye.
That's why I was done.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries. Senator Barlow, you're back. Hope you enjoyed your 30-second break.
Committee of the Whole, please come to order. First bill for our consideration is Senate Joint Resolution 1. Reading clerk.
Senate Joint Resolution 1, State Management Federal Mineral Leases. A joint resolution requesting Congress to introduce a bill and enact law to amend the Federal Mineral Leasing Act to authorize the state of Wyoming to administer and manage mineral leasing on federal lands located in Wyoming. Sponsored by Federal Resource Management.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You've heard the reading bill. What's your pleasure? Senator Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, when the committee rises to report, I move that they do so with a recommendation that Senate SJ 0001 do pass. I have kind of a team going to work on this thing with one from the Minerals Committee, and Senator Ide is going to introduce the bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a bill that we worked on in the interim and Select Federal Natural Resource Committee. And it was, I think it's a good little bill here. It's an economic development bill, if you want to put an extra title on the thing, because I think that's what it does. This joint resolution requesting Congress to introduce a bill and enact a law to amend the Federal Mineral Leasing Act to authorize the state of Wyoming to administer and manage mineral leasing on federal lands located in Wyoming. There's a lot of stuff in here, a lot of fluff actually that'll probably be coming out in the amendment here. But I'll go through it here because it kind of describes, and if you're looking at the bill, it describes what we're trying to get at here. I'll hit on a few highlights. In 2016, the Secretary issued a secretarial order that directed the United States Department of Interior to pause new coal leasing on federal lands. Again, in 2016, the coal leasing moratorium was revoked in 2017 through secretarial order. Then in 2022, a federal court reinstated the coal leasing moratorium until the BLM completed a more sufficient environmental review. Again, in 2022, coal leasing moratorium remained in effect until February of 2024, when the United States Courts of Appeals for the 9th District vacated the 22 decision, holding that the decision was moot. I'm just kind of giving you a little backdrop here, and I'll try to get through here faster. I know everybody's trying to get home. 2024, the BLM reissued a record of decision for the Buffalo Field Office that would make approximately 48 billion tons of coal unavailable for leasing. In January 2021, President Biden issued an executive order that directed the United States Department of Interior to pause new oil and gas leasing on federal lands with a comprehensive review. Anyway, not to go on, but we've just seen these long train of abuses on our federal lands here, our federal minerals. And we discussed this in the committee. How do we try to rectify this situation? So we thought, you at least ask nicely here and run a resolution to Congress and tell them that we would like to manage our own mineral estate here under federal lands. And that's effectively what this bill does, is we're trying to bring that authority and all the federal mineral leasing, the federal sales, the auctions, under state control. We can manage it a lot better, I think, than the federal government, and we can kind of control our own destiny, so we're not put in that position before where they're shutting down, our legacy industries and the lifeblood of our state. The last part of this, I'll just read you real quick here, sort of the punchline at the end. The state of Wyoming requests that Congress introduce and enact legislation to amend the Mineral Leasing Act that authorizes the state of Wyoming to administer and manage mineral leasing on federal lands located in Wyoming. I think we can do it better here, and we can do it more efficiently, and I'd like to see this happen. I think it is definitely an economic development vehicle here, and I'd ask for your favorable vote. And with that, I'd go ahead and read in the amendment, and I'll turn that over to the good senator from over the hill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Go ahead and read in the amendment, please.
Senate Journal 1, Standing Committee, Amendment Number 1, page 2, lines 15 through 23.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Senator Rothfuss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I move Standing Committee Amendment Number 1 to Senate Joint Resolution Number 1 and ask the body's favorable consideration. Mr. Chairman, we in the Minerals Committee looked through the rather long joint resolution and took testimony, and there were concerns with regard to the breadth of the request for the legislation, as well as concerns with regard to the content of the resolution itself being a bit on the long side. And then one of the key provisions relates to the 2% administrative fee, which is an essential part of this concept, ensuring that for oversight of mineral leasing, since the federal government claims the 2% administrative fee, part of the ask would be to ensure that that would be transferred to the state of Wyoming to provide the funding for any type of oversight. So the Select Committee, I think, was reticent probably to support the legislation in its original form, but we did some work and got to the point where the committee was comfortable with the way the bill was going. So the first thing it does, you see at the top portion of the amendment, is rather dramatically trim the whereas clauses, and you can see there that it starts on page 2, lines 15 through 23, deletes those, and then deletes pages 3 through 6, and then picks up again in a couple of places on page 7, lines 1 through 14, page 8, lines 12 through 22, and then page 10, lines through 14 through 18, which is the primary section 1 of the request. It deletes that and replaces it with a lot more specificity. So if you take a look on page 10 at what section 1 requests, it requests that Congress enact legislation to amend the Leasing Act to authorize the state of Wyoming to administer and manage mineral leasing on federal lands located in Wyoming. That was seen as very, very broad, and probably more than the state would want or could handle. So the suggestion of the Standing Committee, the Minerals Committee, was to go in and further refine that. You see some provisions here in the amendment where in paragraph A, rather than basically a summary grant, it would just be entering into cooperative agreements through that legislation. So the legislation would allow the Secretary of the Interior to enter into cooperative agreements with the state of Wyoming, under which the state may, at its election and subject to federal approval, assume administrative primacy for mineral leasing on specified federal lands located within Wyoming. So that's the key concept. Rather than all of the land suddenly being dumped on the state of Wyoming, it would be the state of Wyoming chooses which lands would be appropriate and desirable to be managing the mineral leasing on, and then negotiate with the federal government over those leases and have the opportunity then to have primacy in the areas where we would actually be doing mineral production and it would be appropriate. So rather than the entirety, it would be selective and strategic and thoughtful. And then subject to some provisions, Romanet 1, apply only to federal lands that are mutually designated. Romanet 2, preserve that federal ownership and basically continue what we're doing right now. Romanet 3 requires state administration to be consistent with applicable federal law, which would be obvious that that would have to take place. That was one of the provisions that was brought to us as a suggestion. Romanet 4, allow the state, the Secretary of the Interior to modify or terminate the agreement. And then Romanet 5 just gets to that 2% fee, and it's critical that that be there, that if the state is administering some portion of federal lands, that the state would be entitled to the 2% administrative fee for those federal lands, and that would effectively pay for the administration, which is, again, appropriate and equitable. So, Mr. Chairman, that's the proposed amendment by your Minerals Committee, and I think it makes the resolution a lot stronger to the point where the Minerals Committee was willing to support it when, again, I don't think it would have left the room otherwise. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Discussion on Standing Committee Amendment Number 1 to Senate Joint Number 1. Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I just got this amendment, and I've got some problems with parts of it. A lot of it's good. So at least for now, I would like to divide the amendment, and I could probably divide it 5 times, but I'm just going to do it twice and explain the 2 divisions. So the first division would be on this amendment, lines 1 through 8. Divide that as amendment number 1. And then lines 9 through 43, which is the rest of that amendment, would be amendment number 2.
Senator Ide, that appears divisible. Which one would you like to speak to first?
I'd like to speak, I'll speak to number 1 first. I think that that's a legitimate amendment right there, because if we're sending a resolution, it talks about a lot of stuff that it makes it probably too long, explains things that most of them are already going to know back there on all of the, the headaches that we had to deal with the last couple administrations on our legacy minerals. So I think it's all just commentary for the most part. So I'm good with that first amendment that we divided.
Question on Division 1.
Any discussion, Division 1? Any questions? All those in favor of Division 1 of the amendment, please say aye. Those opposed, no. Amendment Division Number 1 has been adopted. We are now in Division 2. Senator Ide.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't like amendment number 2. There's a few things in there that are okay, but there's some problems with this. First off, Romanet number 5 down at the bottom, another bill that we got out of Federal Natural Resources was to increase our share of royalty, and from 50% to 87.5%, based off of, Alaska has 90%, so we thought we'd ask for more of that. If possible, ask nicely and see what happens. So that kind of messes things up there, and maybe second reading or third reading, we can kind of work on another amendment so to not conflict with that in particular. And so I would encourage you to vote no on this, and I can work with the Minerals Committee to see if there's something that we could work a little better there. I don't know if we can, but I'd like to try. So without going on any further, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Discussion on Division 2. Discussion on Division 2, seeing none. All those in favor of Division 2, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no? No. A lot of people aren't voting. All those in favor, please stand. Thank you very much. 18 voted in favor of the amendment. That would assume there's less than 18 remaining, so the amendment has been adopted. We are back on the bill. So both, just for the clarity of the body and the public, Division 1 and Division 2 have passed, have been adopted. On to the, back on the bill, back on the joint resolution, my apologies. Senator Case, Senator Ide, on the joint resolution, Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is this my last time or okay?
Yes, no,
It is?
it's not your last time, but I'm going to look at the clock.
I know,
and we'll talk about
okay.
this.
You know, senators, I don't know. I think that second amendment, it really conflicts with the other bill that we have on the royalty share. And, you know, at this point, I'm not even sure whether to say to support this bill or not, to be honest with you. It sort of took a lot of the air out of it, because that was that would be telling the other bill, if we could pass it, that we're going to be consistent with the current 50% and not the 87.5% that we're asking for. So if anybody can kind of help me out on comments on that, I think that kind of messes things up here.
Thank you, Senator Ide. I guess my thought would be we only work one bill at a time. The bill before us is the one before us. Consider that in its entirety. Senator Boner.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that look at the language on the amendment, make it consistent with federal statutory formulas. Maybe we, as a supplement, to say delete existing and say whatever the formula is going to be, that's what we get. So I wouldn't get wrapped around the axle coming from an area of the state where we have a lot of private property, private surface, but
Hey, members on the floor, you have discussions. You may not be able to hear each other, but we can hear you. So take them off the floor, please. Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of private surface, but hardly federal surface, but the minerals underneath are about 60% owned by the federal government. This is a huge issue. I appreciate the select committee bringing it up. I think that this is a very thoughtful solution to the inherent issues we have, especially with oil and gas drilling, going 2-3 miles laterally through different types of mineral ownership. I think this is a very pertinent topic. So I appreciate the committee's work. I appreciate the select committee for bringing it. I think we got a very good product, even though if it's a little bit different as it goes through the process. I still think the main point is a very pertinent one, that we should maybe look at the subsurface a little bit differently than the surface when it comes to the federal government managing our state.
Thank you, Senator Boner. I apologize for interrupting you. Senator Rothfuss, on the joint resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the joint resolution, just pointing out that the language that's provided in the Romanet 5 in the amendment really would not be affected by changes if there were a recommendation to change the percentage shift, whether it's from 50 to 75, 85, anything else, because it only addresses the 2% administrative fee. So unless there was somehow a recommendation to remove the 2% administrative fee, I don't see why there would be any conflict. And in fact, even sending both at the same time, I would suggest that both of them could be independently looked at and considered. This is not a law. This is a joint resolution making a request, and I don't know that they would be seen as inconsistent requests. So I don't think the concerns that were laid out are really concerns that would obviate this particular joint resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion on Senate Joint Resolution 1 as amended? Seeing none. All those in favor of Chairman Anderson's motion with the Committee of the Whole rise report to do so with the recommendation that Senate Joint Resolution 1 do pass, please say aye. Those opposed, no. Senate Joint Resolution 1 has passed Committee of the Whole. Next Senate file for our consideration, Senate File 5. Sorry.
Senate File 5, Hospital Bankruptcy Proceedings, an act relating to counties, sponsored by Labor.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What's your pleasure? Senator Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move Senate File Number 5, Hospital Bankruptcy Proceedings, and ask for your favorable aye vote. For an explanation of the bill, I will hand it over to Senator Crum.
Senator Crum.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the bill, again, that talks about hospitals filing reorganization bankruptcy. It deals with two sets of hospitals, memorial hospitals and district hospitals. Right now, under current law, those rural hospitals aren't allowed to file reorganization bankruptcy. They would have to bankrupt the whole county. This way they can file reorganization bankruptcy on their own. And what that means is they'll have a chance to pay their debts. It's a good thing for our community because our community members will get paid. You know, they have a chance to reorganize and get their debts paid from the hospital to community versus just completely closing the hospital. But even more importantly, it allows those hospitals, Mr. Chairman, to stay open and serve the public needs in these rural areas between places. You know, if we close some of these hospitals because of their financial situation without reorganization, it could be several hundred miles to get to the next hospital in the state of Wyoming. So this is a really good bill that would just allow them to do that. Our current code allows for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which is for businesses, and Chapter 13, which allows for reorganization for individuals, but it doesn't allow for these municipal hospitals or hospital districts. So Chapter 9 is just bringing in what we already do, but would apply to these rural hospitals. So I would recommend that. There is one amendment, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to ask to be read in.
Yes, please. Reading clerk, read the amendment in.
Senate File 5, Standing Committee Amendment Number 1, page 3, line 21.
Thank you. Senator Crum.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd move that Standing Committee Amendment for Senate File 0005, Standing Amendment Number 1 for approval.
All right. Do you want to explain the amendment?
Yes, sir. This amendment is pretty straightforward. What it does, it just changes the filing of the date to effective immediately from July 1st. So this allows those hospitals, if this passes through the both chambers and signed by the governor, that they could use this statute right away.
Thank you. Any discussion on the amendment? It's actually not the filing, it's actually just the effective date of the bill. It's changed from the standard date of July 1st to effective immediately upon all acts of the body and the governor. Any discussion on that? Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of the Standing Committee Amendment Number 1, Senate File 5, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Standing Committee Amendment Number 1, Senate File 5 is passed. We're back on the bill. Discussion on the bill. Discussion on the bill. Seeing one. Senator Kolb on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry I have to ask this question, but I'm a bit baffled on why County Memorial Hospitals are going to be able to, a board of trustees, which is an arm of the Board of County Commissioners of said county, how do they get the authority to file? Because the Board of County Commissioners currently has a way to deal with bankruptcies and such and clearing debts. This circumvents the process of the County Memorial Hospital, in fact, being owned by the County Board of County Commissioners. So I hate to ask the question, but I don't understand how it would work, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to hear an answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kolb. Senator Crum.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that is a really good question. And what it does is those memorial hospitals their trustees are appointed by the county commissioners. So the county commissioners designate their authority to the trustees to run that hospital. And so what this allows is for those trustees to run the hospital, which they've been appointed to do by the county commissioners, and conduct business of those hospitals. And so it's the county commissioners are still in control, they still own the hospital. But what this does is allow for that hospital by itself to file for reorganization bankruptcy, not liquidation, but reorganization bankruptcy without the county. Right now, with our current statutes, yes, it's owned by the county. The county itself would have to file for reorganization. Many of these counties are very, very healthy, It's the hospital itself that has financial problems. And what this bill does is allow the hospital to reorganize without having to have the whole county reorganized. And that's visiting with the Attorney General and those type of folks, so.
Thank you. Further discussion? Further discussion? I know, I can sense there's more questions. Go ahead, Senator Cole.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's not my understanding of this at all. The county there's many boards the county has, and there's a mechanism to file bankruptcy. No, it will not take the county down. I did it for 8 years, never heard of this, was with the county as a liaison to the County Memorial Hospital, where they went through some severe fiscal issues, almost in breach of their bond covenant. And that was never a question that came up, so it's kind of new to me. I'd like to hear more about it, if it does make it through on the issue, because I do have some questions still I'd like to have answered. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other further discussion? Senator Brennan, on the bill.
Yes, on the bill, Mr. Chairman, thank you. So this bill was brought to our committee as an interim topic because there's a hospital that when they went to reorganize, file for bankruptcy, they found out that, just like has been explained, that it would have to be the whole county that was reorganized, that just the hospital couldn't do this. So this gives authority to just the hospital, but we'll get you further information on all of that. But this does give much needed ability for hospitals to reorganize.
Thank you. Further discussion on Senate File 5. Further discussion on Senate File 5. Senator Crum.
Yeah, just more clarification on this. This bill was brought to us by county commissioners from around the state and the Wyoming Hospital Association. So this is something that county commissioners asked for. Maybe certain counties this isn't an issue, I'm not aware of any county hospital filing bankruptcy, but I may be wrong that anybody's filed reorganization because they just haven't been allowed to. But again, I would strongly ask for your favorable consideration that when the committee of whole rises to report, that they do so with the due pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion on Senate File 5. Senate File 5, seeing none. All those in favor of Chairman Brennan's motion with the committee of the whole rise report, or do so with the recommendation that Senate File 5 do pass, please say aye. Those opposed, no. Senate File 5 has passed committee of the whole. The next bill for our consent file for our consideration, Senate File 17. Reading clerk.
Senate File 17, Good Neighbor Authority Amendments, sponsored by the Select Committee and referred to Committee Number 9, which provided a do pass as amended recommendation. Voting aye were Senators Anderson, Cooper, Jones, Nethercott, and Rothfuss. Signed, Senator Anderson, Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What's your pleasure? Senator Anderson.
This is to report, you do so with the recommendation that Senate File 17 do pass. There is a standing committee amendment. Could I have that written in or read in at this time?
Please, standing committee amendment, reading clerk.
Senate File 17, Select Committee Amendment Number 1, page 1, line 12.
Senator Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to turn the introduction over to Senator Dockstader.
Thank you. Senator Dockstader. We have both an amendment and the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll get to the amendment and ask you to approve it here in just a second. We started this this summer working on this because, folks, we've got some timber out there that needs to be harvested. I actually toured some of it myself. I'm impressed with what we have, and it's time to get back to work and make this just part of our overall Wyoming picture, that timber is part of our economic picture. I'll go through just briefly the bill now. Page 1, we lift the restrictions on hiring the number of Good Neighbor Authority. These are the people who help us get out there and coordinate these timber harvests. working with the BLM and Forest Service. Page 1, we have our first technical amendments, and I'll get to the other part of the amendment in just a moment. Page 2, this is where the account was changed so that it can include gifts and transfers and donations and so forth, and allows the forester to do that. Page 3, we have the notation there on line 7 that we can start the hiring process for more people. We have an amendment taking out the restrictions on real property, and then we remove the language at the end of page 3, page 4 that puts the restrictions on hiring FTE and contract people. So what it does, in summary, Mr. Chairman and members of the Senate, we've been working on this. If we get these restrictions lifted on the Good Neighbor Authority, working with the U.S. Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management, we could probably generate revenue of roughly $6 million through timber sales. What we're looking for is 2 additional full-time employees through the Good Neighbor Authority, just over $228,000. So that's where we're at, and I'd like to just move the amendment first, if we could get that approved. Mr. Chairman, get that out of the way, and then we can conclude this bill. I'd move Standing Committee Amendment number 1, Senate File 17, ask for your approval on the amendment.
Thank you. Any discussion on the Standing Committee Amendment? Any discussion or explanation on the Standing Committee Amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of Standing Committee Amendment number 1, Senate File 17, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Standing Committee Amendment has been adopted. Back on the bill.
Thank you, Mr.
Senator
Chairman.
Dockstader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to conclude. Right now with Good Neighbor Authority, we're working timber sales, Union Pass Timber, Big Sandy Hazardous Fuels Project by Pinedale, Sled Runner Timber Sale by Big Piney, Flagstaff Road Deck Sales, Pack Trail Salvage Sales near Jackson, various small sales throughout Grays River and the Kemmer District. And I've also toured several potential sales in the southern part of a forest there on the west side of the state. And we had a group that has taken the next step and toured the small mills out in the southwest and are starting to arrange for these sales to be taken care of and move through the process. It's time to get back to work, Senate, harvest some timber in Wyoming. This opens the door for it, and ask for your approval.
Thank you. Further discussion on Senate File 17. Further discussion, seeing none. All those in favor of Senator Anderson's motion when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so. With the do pass recommendation, favor of Senate File 17, please say aye. Those opposed, no. Senate File 17 has passed Committee of the Whole. Next bill for our consideration is Senate File 6. Reading clerk.
Senate File 6, eligibility for Medicaid criteria, an act relating to medical assistance and services sponsored by Labor, referred to Committee Number 10, which gave a do pass recommendation as amended. Voting aye, Senators Brennan, Crum, Hutchings, Scott, and Steinmetz. Senator Brennan, Chairman.
You've heard the reading of the bill. What's your pleasure? Senator Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move Senate File number 6, eligibility for Medicaid criteria, and ask for your favorable aye vote. There's also a committee amendment, standing committee amendment. Could we have that read in at this time?
Actually, Senator Brown, would you please restate your motion, the Committee of the Whole rise to report, the standard motion?
Oh, yes.
That would be great, and then we'll go to that amendment.
Could you give me, it's getting late, could you give me that wording again? When the Committee of the Whole rise and report,
It do so with the recommendation.
do so with the recommendation of do pass
On.
Senate File 6.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.
Now, we'll read in the standing committee amendment.
Senate File 6, Standing Committee Amendment Number 1, page 2, line 10.
Senator Brennan.
Thank you. I would move Standing Committee Amendment Number 1 to Senate File 6
Thank you.
Now what do am I good? And for an explanation of this bill, I'm going to turn it over to Senator Scott.
Thank you very much. Senator Scott, please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, this is a piece of interim work. It's actually a pretty important bill. The real meat of it is found on page 4, lines 1 through 8. And basically what it does is it says that if we're going to have any expansion in the Medicaid program, it has to be approved legislatively. It says that what's going on right now is approved and all right, and if we're going to expand on that, we have to have legislative approval. That's something has always been the practice, although there's always been some suspicion of some creep that might have occurred. But there's been no legal restraint on the agency just going ahead and expanding and expanding and expanding, except for one provision that prevents Medicaid expansion. That's an uncodified position, I believe, in the session laws 2013. So this will give us some protection and assurance long-term. It also requires that for most of the programs in Medicaid that you have to be eligible, you have to be a U.S. citizen and Wyoming resident. That's on the first part of the bill. Turning now to the Standing Committee amendment, Mr. Chairman. Most of the Standing Committee amendment is some technical corrections. I'll highlight a couple of provisions. One is the provisions found on page 4, line 8, that allows the governor to do a temporary expansion in case of a public health emergency, but it provides that expansion expires 30 days after adjournment of the next legislative session. So it preserves the legislature's ability to control things long-term, but means that we don't, if we have a major emergency and nationally they decide to fund the solution through Medicaid, we don't have to have a special session just to approve that. We can wait till the next regular session, but it does maintain our control. So I think that's a good amendment. There's a series of technical corrections, mostly relating to people and children in custody of family services, and we use Medicaid to pay their medical bills. And there is a provision on page 1, lines 30 through 35. There's a family planning waiver that is we have to renew every 5 years. That subject matter is now handled differently, but it's cheaper bureaucratically and in terms of bureaucratic expense to just let it continue and expire as it will on the date that's mentioned here. So that's what that's all about. It's not a really substantive provision. Mr. Chairman, I realize that's a quick explanation of both the bill and standing committee amendment. Be happy to answer any questions on the standing committee amendment.
Thank you, Senator Scott. Questions on the standing committee amendment? Number 1, Senate File 6. Questions on the amendment? Senator Rothfuss on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a question. It seems like it's probably covered, but I just wanted to make sure that one of the concerns I had as I was reading this was with regard to CHIP program coverage. I don't think that the legislation is affecting CHIP coverage and the restrictions would affect CHIP coverage in any way. And I don't think this language changes that in any way. And I just wanted to make sure that that's accurate, that this is exclusive of CHIP coverage. Is that accurate?
Thank you, Senator Rothfuss. Senator Scott.
Mr. Chairman, yes, I believe that's accurate. This is strictly in terms of the Medicaid program.
Thank you. Further discussion on the amendment? Further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. All those in favor of the motion to adopt Senate Standing Committee Amendment Number 1, Senate File 6, please say aye. All those opposed, no. Amendment is adopted. We're back on the bill. Senator Scott.
On the bill.
Thank you. Any discussion on the bill? Any discussion on Senate File 6? Senator Rothfuss, Senate File 6.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am curious what the impetus for the eligibility criteria, so the first most of the bill is providing some potential limitations, and I was just wondering, has this actually been any problem in the state of Wyoming? This seems to add a lot of additional bureaucracy, a lot of additional checks, and I just haven't heard that this is a problem. So I was curious whether this is something that has been coming up, the state's been losing money. Is that the case? And if so, how much money has the state lost? What are the estimates on total dollars lost based on us not having this policy implemented?
Thank you. Senator Scott.
Mr. Chairman, it wouldn't be a matter of the state losing money, it would be a matter of the state expending money in a program that we really have to control by controlling the eligibility. And there really has been no control on the eligibility beyond the custom, which is 60 years in standing now, that we don't do major expansions here without legislative approval. It is an important protection because there on occasion has been some fearfulness that we have done things just by a bureaucratic increase. Well, then Mr. Chairman, a number of years ago, we attempted to deal with that by putting in statute the specifics of the eligibility for Medicaid. They proved to be so complicated, we were unable, the interim committee was unable to get it done at that time. This is a much simpler approach that they've come up with this time, which is to simply say it's frozen at current eligibility, and then if there's changes, additions, that has to be approved. So that has been the procedure, Mr. Chairman, on this. I'm afraid at this hour I'm not quite as articulate as I should be on the need for this. It makes it parallel to the provisions that are in the statute already on which providers are eligible to provide Medicaid services. And that is an effective control. This is frankly a more important control, Mr. Chairman, and I would urge its adoption because we are open to having a mission creep we don't know about that could be significantly expensive if we don't have this protection.
Thank you, Senator Scott. Further discussion on Senate File 6. Further discussion, Senator Rothfuss.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that. And the final question I had was related to the requirement of a social security number, which again, I think is a significant problem if it were CHIP, but this is not CHIP. But I can't imagine circumstances potentially where someone isn't utilizing CHIP and potentially utilizing Medicaid and doesn't yet have a social security number, perhaps because they're young, probably not as an adult, but I was just curious if that was something that was discussed, if there are any possible scenarios where we might have somebody who is eligible, but for some reason, one reason or another, doesn't yet have a social security number, and whether this would be preventing them from having something which is lawfully intended, but just the absence of them having a registered social security number at that point would preclude them.
Thank you. Senator Scott.
Mr. Chairman, the way the eligibility works, you get women and largely women and infants, where the infant won't have a social security number, but the relevant one is the mother's. And we don't see any problems in that particular area. It'd be done the way it always has been. There are a few exceptions in here, and we're going to have to make one more to the requirement that somebody be a citizen of the United States or a resident, because there's some very special circumstances where you're providing some emergency care, or where you're providing care in the case of somebody on the TB waiver, where the real purpose is to protect all the rest of us from an infectious disease. and it makes sense to provide care to somebody who wouldn't have. And I think that the exceptions will take care of that such that the lack of social security number won't be a problem, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Scott. Further discussion on Senate File 6, apparently, Senate File 6. Senator Rothfuss.
Just following up on that, thank you, and my apologies, but I do think that's an important aspect. I didn't understand the exceptions that would allow, because it is my understanding that federal Medicaid law requires that while states can request Social Security, they can't delay treatment based on a pending Social Security number, for example. And the concern I have, I don't understand how the good senator from Bates Creek's idea that if there were an emergent situation, you could have an exception actually comports with the language in this bill. I think that's reasonable, but I'm missing how it would be allowed with the explicit requirement that you have to be able to provide a Social Security number. So I might have misunderstood, but I'm not seeing how that exception can be made.
Thank you, Senator Rothfuss. Further discussion? Further discussion on Senate File 6? Seeing none. All those in favor of Chairman Brenner's motion when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so. With the recommendation that Senate File 6 do pass, please say aye. Those opposed, no. Senate File 6 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for Senate File for our consideration is Senate File 12. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As much fun as we can watch Senate bloopers after 5 p.m. with the quality work that I know that we do, including myself, I think it's best if I move that the Committee of the Whole rise and report.
You've heard the good motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Oh, now we have some enthusiasm. All those opposed, please say no. Silence. Mr. President.
Committee of the Whole report.
Mr. President, your Committee of the Whole, having under consideration bills on general file, begs leave to report as follows. Senate Joint Resolution 1, do pass as amended. Senate File 5, do pass amended. Senate File 17, do pass amended. Senate File 6, do pass amended. Senator Barlow, Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Barlow.
Mr. President, I move adoption of the Committee of the Whole report.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries. Committee of the Whole report has been adopted. All right. Any reports, Alan? Are we ready to go? The Chief Clerk has said it's time to go. Madam Majority Floor Leader.
That Chief Clerk knows what's going on. All right, Mr. President, I move that we stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Monday, February 16th, 2026.
Thank you. Are there any announcements? Senator Olson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to announce that your Committee Number 1, Judiciary, will meet on Monday upon noon recess in room 002 to consider 3 bills: Senate File 56, Kratom Product Regulation; Senate File 71, Wyoming Department of Homeland Security; and Senate File 85, the Raven Act.
Thank you. Senator Brennan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your Committee Number 10, Labor, Health, and Social Services, will meet Monday, February 16th upon noon recess in Capitol Extension Room E1 and online to consider the following bills: Senate File 19, Epinephrine Delivery Methods; Senate File 23, Outpatient Examination and Commitment Length; Senate File 57, Transparency in Hospital Service Pricing. And if we breeze through those, we'll take up Senate File 122, Medical Necessity Standard Timeline Amendments.
Thank you. Senator Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Education Committee will also meet Monday, February 16th, 8 a.m., Capitol Extension Room W006, our new home. And we will take a look at Senate File 59. We're going to spend about 15 minutes to finish up that bill. That's all I'm going to give them, actually. And then we will tie right into Senate File 81, K through 12, Public School Finance 2. I doubt if we'll get to Senate File 53, but I put it on there just in case. Keeping amateurism in high school athletics. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator McEwen.
Yes, Mr. President, your Revenue Committee will meet Monday, February 16th upon noon recess in Capitol Extension Room 6 and online. We will be taking up Senate File 61, motor vehicle sales to family members, non-taxable, and Senate File 110, residential property tax revisions.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Mr. Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senate Appropriations will be meeting upon noon recess on Monday in room E202, which is the old Supreme Court room. 3 bills, Senate File 119, Strategic Investments and Projects Account Repeal 2. Senate File 120, K through 12 School Facilities Major Maintenance. And finally, Senate File 124, Economic Development Rodeo Museum. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Any further announcements? Seeing none, you've all heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries. The Senate will stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Monday, February 16th.